So this is some pretty significant heat that's coming in. And alongside that heat, we're going to see some drying. We start to see daytime minimum humidities dropping into the low teens to mid-teens. Overnight humidities continuing to struggle, if not decreasing even more. We have a bingo day there on Friday where we have humidities potentially only recovering to around 30%, and that's by the early morning hours. So a lot of hot, dry weather coming up this week. Excessive heat warning remains in effect. So thank you.
Fire behavior.
All right, we're listening to the...
Good evening, my name is Kyle Ferris with your fire behavior. So the fire still remains within the containment lines with no expected growth predicted. Any remaining heat will be well interior. For your fuels, the areas surrounding the fire are dominated by a heavy fuel loading of grass crops that are going to be susceptible to ignitions, with the pig tomorrow being 90%. ERCs are above average for this time of year and their climate. So by the end of the week, we should expect them to reach that 90th percentile. So we'll be discussing all this with the troops tomorrow for safety concerns of just them continuing being cautious while working outside of the black area so we won't have any new ignitions. And if we do have new starts, just for them to be aware that our burn period is going to be much longer, going later into the evening, just for them to be aware. Thank you.
Next we'll have operations with tomorrow's organizational assignments.
Good afternoon, Chris Baldoni, Deputy Operations, CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 5. You'll see a slight organizational restructuring tomorrow with contingency going to 12-hour shifts. In addition to that, we'll be able to access some equipment that'll be available for state response. Thank you.
Air operations.
Nico Mattioli, Air Operations for CAL FIRE Team 5. So air operations was minimal today. Helco's reports was fire looks really good and all those interior smokes are dissipating. For tomorrow, we have 3 Type 1s, 1 Type 2, 1 Type 3. Guard 821 as your daytime hoist, and we'll be accessing all aircraft tomorrow evening in a report.
Safety.
Good evening, James Allen, Team 5 Safety. Since the last meeting, we have had 1 minor injury. Tomorrow, as we wind things down, we're going to continue to stress the heat advisory, so the hydration, taking work rest breaks when appropriate, and rehab. We're also going to stress the driving. And finally, we're going to stress for the people that are working with suppression repair, again, around the heavy equipment. We're going to have 3 line safety officers to support the plan.
We'll now move into team info for plan support, logistics, finance, liaison, information, CAL FIRE Fresno Kings Unit, incident commanders. With that, IAP components are due at 1900 hours at the resources trailer on the other side of the street. An operational briefing will be tomorrow morning here at 0700. That concludes our planning meeting. Thank you.
Okay, friends, I'm so sorry that I went live right after it started. There may be a way to rewind back to the beginning. I have some technical difficulties today. The webcam died again, so I'm looking left when I'm actually looking right. You know, I usually mirror it so you can tell when I'm looking at like what they're doing, and gesturing is usually better. Thank you for being here. I also took a nap because funny things happened to me. Last night I was all snuggling and getting my rest, and we're gonna look at fires just in a second. Let me know if there's a pressing need, of course, while I try to clean my desk. There was a little bit of a spill here. So while I was snuggling in, I kept hearing like little twig snapping sounds, and then I kind of wondered what's out there. We've got a real quiet neighborhood, so checking my security cams, and got a couple spots I couldn't really see with them because I moved them around, and so I'm like, okay. And so then I hear the unmistakable sounds of a door handle, like a car door handle being tried, and I'm like, oh, somebody could be out there messing with the cars or trying to rob them. Once my security cams caught a attempted robbery with my neighbor's catalytic converter down the street. So I'm like, not again, right? So I'm getting all ready. I'm dressing and putting on little overcoat, and I'm like ready to call for the police because, somebody's trying to get in a car. And then there's sounds of like almost like a car hood, like somebody put their weight and their hand down on it and kind of popped the dent in it and like popped it back out. So I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I get out there and I'm ready to, film and, from safe different distance. And it's raccoons. I'm like dialing 911 and it's raccoons. So somebody left their trash, like a little bit of a bag from a trip, on top of their car. And the raccoons are climbing all over it to get up there and using the door handle as a ladder. But man, did that freak me out. So I just, it was funny, but I found it hard to get back to sleep. So I took a little bit of a nap this afternoon. I'm sorry to, not let you know when I was going to go live. Okay, this desk is now squeaky clean. Yeah. Let's get started, friends. So how are you, my wonderful, wonderful friends? You've got red flag, and my assessment from yesterday, now that it's actually over, because, I can't curse us all and say things are going great. Things did go great yesterday for almost all incidences, and we have wonderful heroes that are just on top of it, like they are on it. I couldn't be more pleased in general with our firefighters' responses. Now, if any of you have gone to the COPPEROPOLIS luncheon today, I guess you could call it a luncheon, please let me know how that went. It was a picnic like in honor of the first responders who helped with the AERO fire. So I was just hoping somebody went there to tell me how it was. I would have totally been there if I wasn't in Oregon, right? So how are we good on buffering? I've also spent quite a bit of time today trying to fix the internet problem. And we're doing a little experiment now to see if everything's going to be okay. So let me know at the first sign of buffering or any sound issues, right? I'm sorry about the webcam. It's gone haywire, and hopefully it will not bite the dust today like it really did this morning. So yeah, I'm super grateful to our first responders. I don't know about you guys, eh? Like, I wish we could give a round of applause and show them that, Maybe we could. Maybe we can make an appreciation video where we're all like in the chat spamming, you guys. Yeah, what? We could do that. We could perhaps do that and then put it as a link into maybe the comment section of one of their videos or like Facebook pages so that the incident management team sees it and then maybe shares it or something, So yeah, please hit the like button. And I'm sorry I didn't get the donation link up yet. Let me do that. Thank you so much, guys. I'm still tallying what we've got. I've got one number for us already in the last 28 days. For super chat, super stickers, we've made $420.83. So that's where YouTube takes a 30% cut on average, or right about that. So, I mean, that's quite good. Keep it coming, guys. The others don't take a cut, and there's minimal fees like PayPal and whatever. So I'm going to put those links for Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal in the pin chat message here. You can always contact me. My email's in the description of the video at the very bottom. If you have any trouble, if you want to write a paper check or send me an old, like, I've got $5 left on a gift card. Do you want it? Yeah, sure. No donation is too small. The goal is $1 for a day with 20% of the viewers, and we would do just fine. So every dollar matters. The best way to fundraise is actually free. You can just hit the like button. Remember to subscribe if you didn't, and also share the link. Like, there's a link share to anybody else who might need this video. Whoops, sorry, that is the landing page of YouTube after the Fresno update. Let's check our cams on things. And I want to show you this cool picture. Where was it? This one. I wanted to make this my thumbnail, but like it wouldn't work. So let me see if we can rewind the live video, the Fresno one, but I'm going to put the charity not charity, the donation button. Jeez. Wish I was a charity. I wish your donations could be tax deductible. Well, let's see if that link works. Yay, I think the links are all intact. Okay, so the pinned message in chat is how you can donate $1 today, and I'm very grateful for everyone's help and you guys being here today. We crowdsourced the information about fires from everything from alerts to people's cell phones to the Facebook pages, the Twitter, the officials, listen live to the scanner radio. Very grateful for the ham radio operators that give us the Broadcastify feeds. Then we look at where the pilots are flying. I tried to go live the moment this happened. Let's see, can we rewind it? Sometimes you can't. Once their video is over, sometimes over. But it didn't give us that much information we didn't already know. Now I'm going to give us, I'll show you guys a map of the battle maps I was able to find. Wait, did it? Can we rewind? The battle maps I have now for the Basin and the June lightning complex down here that that happened in Fresno. Oh, looks like we can rewind it. All right, let's just see what they said at the beginning, and I need to look. What's the name of my channel? Or somebody else. You're talking to somebody else, Desi. I was like, well, is that a trick question?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 1700 hours. We'll go ahead and get started with our planning meeting. I'm Nick Pimlott, Plan Section Chief, CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 5.
Cool. At least for a moment, we can watch the beginning that we missed. It was not a very long affair. They do touch on the weather, and that's going to tell us a lot about just the situation in there that will also apply, of course, to the Basin fire. But I do not want to be skipping any pressing need concern. Please let me know in the chat if there's evacuations going. I got a 24, I've reached the 24 message notification limit, for my phone, and I have to check watch duty, like manually, because once I hit 24 on Samsung's, there's a message limit, and then you don't get any more. So I don't know if I could keep going with Samsung right now. But if anybody has an old, I don't care if it's cracked or has a chipped screen, an old iPhone from the last like 3 years, maybe 4, I could definitely use it, or like an older tablet, so that I can stay aware of everything, because I don't know that I can switch or trade up phones, and I also don't know how to use an iPhone. So you can email me if you're willing to donate that, and send it in the mail. I'd be so grateful. I could probably pay for the shipping. Let's see here. The El Paso fire in Kern County 3 hours ago was 40% contained. Okay, so that does not seem to be any threat. You guys monitoring anything else? I want to check on Oregon as well. I heard something happened at Roseburg. So, and what tiny vegetation fire by Grants Pass in the hills. A Wagon Road fire by Winston, Oregon. That was an automatic update with nobody like following it on watch duty. So it's probably not a big deal. So let's see. What worries me a bit is this shearing fire that's in Tuolumne County, Stanislaus National Forest. But from what they're saying on watch duty, there's burn scars nearby, where it sounds like they have a better chance of stopping it than like going into where it is. They said it was way too dangerous to put smoke jumpers or to have any of the hotshots hike in. We were definitely going to keep an eye on that. It was 5 hours ago was our last update, but we do have a cam. That was watch duty. We do have a cam to check that out at least. Okay, Walker Canyon Road, Riverside County, a new fire just hot off the press. And that is visible on a cam. So, well, we'll switch to the one that just happened, and hopefully we can go back to the beginning of the Fresno County June complex meeting. This was not really for the public, by the way. You can, it's for themselves. It's for CAL FIRE to talk to each other and get people up to speed. I don't know, night shift versus day shift or whatever. But here is the YouTube link where you can watch that. And if you subscribe to CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 5, you can even hit notify me when they, because they're planning these updates. And you can watch their morning operational briefings, I believe, here, plus their little evening briefings. And so this was very helpful during like the Calder and the Dixie. Hit the like button, please, guys, remember? And hit the share button and share the stream with anybody you think might ever use information who lives in a wildfire prone area. That's much of a state, actually. But you can text the link to other people, but it's most helpful if you put it on your own social media, like your own Facebook page, or you tweet it out. Oh, that's right. I didn't tweet. I was live. One sec. We'll go right down to Riverside County, California in just a moment. We cover all the fires that we possibly can. Priority is new events, threat to life, safety, and property. And then we go back and check on the updates for the current existing fires and the ones that worry me most. You know, too long didn't read, like, spoiler alert, the Basin and the shearing right now are what bothered me the most. Looking really good on the Applegate fire, which was before the Basin broke out. The Applegate fire of Oregon was the thing of greatest concern for becoming a big monster. But they are making great headway, and I think they've dropped their evacuation notices. And they caught the thief that stole some of their gear. Good job, police. So I'm going to just tweet here, and you can check out my Twitter, well, X, at @KWildfires. I'll put the link here. And then if you share that I'm live, that's a great way for people to tune in. So I'm live covering California, Washington, Oregon wildfire post. Okay, let me get you guys a link. Really helps when I remember to do this. I'm supposed to do that at the beginning of every stream. So, but boy, do I forget. Now I'm gonna, this time for real, try to save my voice for the days to come. We're getting worse and worse weather. So we do have red flag conditions and 4th of July, and people are buying their fireworks. We may have some major fires break out. I would imagine at least one. Either, days before the 4th of July, after, or on the 4th of July. So, hold on and strap it. Hold on to your butts, as Samuel L. Jackson would say. So let me get this link to the post. So here it is in the chat. Okay. And hey, good afternoon, Angela. Little Valley Fire, by the way, which was huge in Oregon, is 91% contained. That's an awesome update. Let's find out what's going on in Riverside County. There's a new fire to look at, friends. So, hey, refresh. I have to clean up my windows later. So the Sierra fire is 307 acres. Fontana. All right, we'll look at that afterwards. So let's go look at our cams. Alert wildfires, Riverside County. And let's get a watch duty. My watch duty link. All right, just a second. Let's get that and pull over the window. Watch duty. Must have closed that on accident. Okay, and how are you guys doing today? All right, so we see the red flag warnings we got there. We got helicopters and planes out. There's a big air show going to the Basin, and we want to make sure Riverside County's okay. So the Sierra is there. So were they the same thing, or did it just get a name, or is it? Yeah, Lake Fire is something new. So let's just see what it's doing. It's got a cam. Oh, they're not saying which cam that is. Okay. And then the Intel 20, oh, it's Intel, oh, that's the name of the plane. Jeez. Sierra Fire, that's San Bernardino County. That's 307 acres. And that is the plane right there, still in the air circling it, that just gave us the updated acreage. I wish I could see live what they say. So we've got lots of smoke coming, and it looks like it's up on the hill by Europa Avenue. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And Sierra Avenue. That's the name of the fire. Really muddy camera images. Angela Cortez's Mount Rubidoux used to light up yearly. Yeah, I remember that. Covering the Bobcat fire, I discovered about how that works. Okay, so Quail Canyon fire camera. Look at that. It must be zooming in from quite a ways away. The more haze in the camera, the more, smoke in a distant, the camera has to show up. So that's how you can tell the camera's really zoomed in, or the smoke is incredibly bad when you can barely see what's going on. So the smoke is laying down on the ground. Let's check the wind speed down there. It looks like that wind is a pretty big factor. Kind of laying it down. Big apologies for what? What, Angela? What's up? Okay, so hey, welcome, CPRO. I was going to give you a call, sorry, but then a live meeting occurred. My bad. Wow, JECat, that's pretty cool. That must have been on Twitch, I guess. Stream is fine. Thank you, P. Quinn, and thanks for being here. Fingers crossed that we get the stability. So, yeah, we've got a mapping plane that just left. It just was like Elvis. It just left the building. So that's a very fresh acreage. New vegetation fire. We'll check Riverside County's weather, unless one of you guys want to right now on your phone. Like, is there a high wind watch, or is it just kind of normal? And what's the temperature? Temescal Canyon Road and Indian Truck Trail vegetation fire. Okay, I have no idea where that is. Let's take a look. And thank you everybody who has donated. You're wonderful. I will try to get a moment to finish the tally and see where we are at with our laptop goal and new webcam goal. I don't need something too fancy with that. Just one that doesn't crash. So the vegetation fire, Riverside County, just had a few seconds ago update. That's only half an acre right now in medium fuels, spreading south with potential for several hundred acres. That's separate to the Lake 2 fire. Separate to the lake fire. What? All right. 2 additional tankers and 1 additional helicopter has been requested to share between both fires. All right. We're fully loaded in this region right now. One more fire, we get a full house. So there's a different vegetation fire next to this one. That's on I-15, down by just north of Lake Elsinore. Potential for several hundred acres. The wind, and fire likes to climb, would go into the hills. I don't see a lot of inhabitations. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we have a priority here of seeing what's going on with the Sierra fire, and we're going to San Bernardino, ring-a-ding-ding, San Bernardino County. Anybody else here like Mark Knopfler? Dire Straits. We got a fleet of aircraft coming. Let's see. It's hard to see what's going on that map. Let's look at Flight Radar 24. I'm still trying to figure out if there's a way that if I zoom in with Flight Radar 24, come on, where are we? No, that's San Diego, Riverside. There we are. if there's a way to make the words bigger so you guys can follow along and actually see better what's happening without needing a gigantic screen, right? But the more I zoom in, the more the tiny words stay the same font. So the two incoming aircraft are S2s, Grumman S2s. Huh. I didn't know Grumman made S2s. Okay. Yep, got two turbo trackers. All right. And a helicopter going down with the fire that's by Lake Elsinore. Doesn't look like any structures are threatened just from my precursory glance at it. So we've also got a couple of other planes up there with the Sierra fire in San Bernardino County, which is just a bit north. An S2 and two eyes in the sky. So if we get a moment, we could possibly turn on Broadcastify if we could hear the pilots and such. That'd be good. So once again, guys, thanks for being here. Remember, thumb up to get us trending so that people actually find us when they're looking for live info. The way to find us is a trick to it. Is to find anybody who's live. You don't just type in, like, say, Wildfire Tracking Live or Space Shuttle, not Space Shuttle, but SpaceX Launch Live, you know. You type that, but then there's a little filter button on the YouTube search. And there is a button there where you can filter by live. As long as you click that, then you see all these live streams. They go straight to the top. But it's a really small thing that most people are totally unaware of. But that really does help refine your search. The other way to let people know that we are, live is to hit like button a bunch, and that triggers this algorithm. And what's already popular is promoted to people, things that are called, quote, trending. So even if you do that, that's a great help to the channel and to help other people. Dr. Elephant says, you go into settings, map, and then aircraft size. I was hoping for all of the words to be visible, like it's a map, like Lake Elsinore down here. Like, can you even read that? I'm having trouble reading it on my 42-inch television screen. That's what I use for streaming here. Strangely, I've got a great computer that I built for video, and I put all the money into it. I don't actually own a monitor. If you could believe that, I just utilized old TVs. But when I zoom in, see how the words stay small? I don't like that. But thanks for the advice there. I will go through settings to see if there's anything new, but people have been complaining about that since like 2016 when I searched for a solution already. I don't know if they're inclined to fix anything, but it's a way that you can make apps and websites. I took web design classes. It's mainly accessibility, like people with vision problems. So I would have hoped that they would have prioritized that. But so thank you so much, Bashbeard and others, for sharing the fact that I'm live on the Twitter. So let's see. There's continuous water rescues happening in Portland. I don't know if people are boating or swimming. So let me check out the new update I just got on watch duty. Calaveras County has a new fire called the gill fire, like fish gill. Okay, it's 1 acres right now. Let's check on that, and we'll go back and keep an eye on what's going on in San Bernardino County. And then I'll show you if we get a moment here, battle maps for the Basin and the flash and bolt fires. And then I need to make myself a sandwich. What's the shake fire? That's in Amador County. We'll look at that next. So the gill fire we just had a little update at New Hogan Lake, burning by the shoreline. So right up next to a road, in between the lake and a road. So they got everything going for them now. people recreating, really, don't light campfires and stuff during red flags, or even if you're in a region next to where it's red flag. It's do that in authorized places, please. Of course, could be an accident, like somebody's leaving, towing their boat or something. But I mean, I'm sure it's an accident, but be really careful, guys. I'm really anxious about this weekend. Triple-digit temperatures, low humidities in the teens. All you need is wind for multiple disasters to break out at once. So I think this has got everything going for it, and I don't think this will be a factor just based on what I'm seeing here. So that's good news. Let's go up to the Shake Fire. This is Amador County, up the hill, in between Sutter Creek and, well, it kind of goes, Sutter Creek and sort of on the way to, that's a very backwards way to get to Volcano. By the way, if you ever take this route, this one right here to get to Volcano, or maybe it's this road, that was the windiest, craziest, steepest road I've ever been on. I was like putting it in low gear, and in 2022, and I was filming the Caldor's aftermath. Volcano, thank God, was spared, and man, I was just surprised at how steep that was. It's like they should just say, road of last resort or something. I don't even know what that is. A Shake Fire, 2 acres. Last update 30 minutes ago. Incident Command's last update says they are continuing 2 additional engines, but canceling the remainder of the response. And all aircraft have been released and canceled. Take a look at it with the Jackson Butte camera. So let's do a 1-hour time lapse. And we have much reduced smoke. That's great. They are really pouncing on things. We've noticed that in the last few days. They're taking the upcoming weather very seriously. Anything small right now, even if it is small, if it's not contained by the time the worst weather arrives, they can blow up. So they're just going to try to just pounce on everything. Now's not the time to do anything but 100% go, right? So that is looking good. What worries me a little bit is the shearing, and I want to know more about it. Let's look back, shearing. So even though it's high altitude up there, almost, let's see, what is the altitude? You know how the winds can come out of the desert and blow fires down to the valley. That's where we've had extreme problems before. Everything from what happened with Paradise to the Bear Fire. That's why even if like, it seems far away, that distance is not a barrier. The fastest moving wildfires I think recorded in the Western Hemisphere have happened in the Sierras and took everybody by surprise. So the Lake Fire, Walker Canyon Road, and the one by Lake Elsinore has been contained. The Lake Fire has been contained down there, and that one was Riverside County. We'll check on their vegetation fire, which is supposed to be different from the lake. We'll keep an eye on it. That seems to have been the update. So Canyon Road, and let me just make sure that's the exact same one. Let's see, let's read the update. Yeah, Riverside County's second little fire by Lake Elsinore. I think I said that right. It's 2 acres. And tankers have a retardant drop on it, and Air Attack is canceling the request for the 2 other tankers. Great, looks like that's going great. Okay, so let me make sure that I clear away my watch duty things. If you have a Samsung, you should do this too. Swipe away watch duty constantly, because if it reaches 24, like, new update, something's spreading fast. If it reaches 24 total notifications, no new ones can come in. I've reported that as an issue to watch duty. They're not too optimistic that they'll be able to change that for Samsung. I'll try to suggest things. There's got to be a way, like maybe a separate notification that's like the weather, that's persistent, that just is like scrolling this fire, that fire, this county, always on the phone, and maybe updating every half an hour or something. I'll suggest that to them. I just don't know what's possible. Angela Cortez says, I've lived in the desert last year. Now I'm in Menifee. It's different. Where's Menifee? Is there something in Bakersfield? Yeah. Okay. And like Elsinore has a freeway that breaks fires. Yeah. And it's on the proper side of the freeway. So the Ortega Mountains lighting up would be bad. Okay. Well, fingers crossed, Angela. Thank you. Thank you for your insight in the local area. So, how did you find us today? You have us on the subscribe with the ringing bell plug. Okay. I just said I needed to make a sandwich for myself. That was a mistake. Okay. Calaveras County. Now we've got an update. Forward progress stopped. Cool. That was what we were looking at next. That was a 10 by 10 foot outbuilding fire with spread to some vegetation. Oh, poor people lost something. And forward progress was stopped. They now have hose all the way around it, canceling all the aircraft. Oh, great. So could anybody check the San Bernardino weather for me? Wind speed, wind gusts, humidity, and temperature. Specifically, and anybody should be able to type that into their weather app. Down by Fontana or Riverside itself. That's fine. This is like right on the border, straddling it. It may have touched over the border to Riverside County, but it's just over the border in San Bernardino County. And what is this mess of dirt roads? That's great. See, this sort of thing we need to catch fires. If they can't hold the main one, they can fall back, and then, like when you have a grid of roads like this, they could light the grass on fire, and like for each little square, keep it nice and easy and lazy. And so even if flying grass that's on fire comes over those roads, it'll land on black and not do anything. So I hope this hasn't been developed or something. I mean, who knows how old these satellite images are, but if that's still that way, that's great. So looks like they are defending this neighborhood here. I don't see an evacuation order or anything. Just make sure. Yeah, the mapping plane was just over it. Don't think they've even asked anybody to leave. Okay. I don't see that. Yeah, started about 3 hours ago. Had a rapid rate of spread, but the wind seems to have been pushing it away from the neighborhood. And they've got great road access right there. And if that's a giant water tank or something, that's what you want in your neighborhood. I just wish they weren't building things like this on the hillsides, Yeah, something like this neighborhood, if that's a bold or overlooking, or if they're at the top here, like Gallant Avenue, off of Windcrest Drive, if they're at the top of the hills, man, they should have fire break roads and probably water cannons like every step of the way there. Fire would race up to the top. I would have called for this to not be a neighborhood, I would have said that's a nice view and everything, but that's probably should be a fire buffer zone. But I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge. Okay. Keep it coming, guys. Angela Cortez says that's a water tower. Yeah. And they're also everywhere, and I can see 2 from here. Good. Good. That really helps. Dr. Elephant says down by Riverside it's 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Precipitation 0%, humidity 13. Wind is 13 miles an hour. Is that constant? And what are the gusts? 13% humidity. Below 40 or you're getting dry with fire danger. Below 30, it's a serious risk. Below 20, oh man, you're getting towards some ovens are probably more humid than that. As long as you're baking something moist like cookies. 13 and 10. That's get out there in the wind and sun a little bit, and all of a sudden your lips are splitting and cracking, and so are your knuckles. That's you're gonna need a lot of lotion for your hands and feet in that kind of weather. Probably the rest of everywhere too. Oh man. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. This is what it looks like in general. That was at 4:07, nearly 2 hours ago. That's what living in California is like. You see this out the window quite a bit. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Angela, for your local knowledge. So which are the 2 fires that you can see? Somebody says there's an El Paso fire. Yeah, south of China Lake Naval Station. It went to 471 acres, but it's now 40% contained. And Southern California has been busy today. Yeah. Oh, it's a development that ran out of money. Okay. Yeah. Great. They should just keep that the way it is. Just the fields gridded like that, because, man, if I were like in the community, I'd go to community meetings and say, look, the reason that this neighborhood is safe is because of this grid of dirt roads or whatever. Much safer, I should say. Put houses right here. You can expand the city a little bit, but you have to have buffer zones. So you just think about what is our vulnerability. Fire likes to climb, so a buffer zone, actually that looks like it's higher elevation, between you and where it might come up a hill. That's where you should put big fire access roads, lots of hydrants, lots of tanks. Gate it if you must, so that riffraff doesn't go there, but the firefighters should have keys. And you know what? They have electronic gates and such now, where the radio signal comes from like something like a fire truck, and if it approaches a gate, it automatically opens. That would be better than the physical keys. And who has the keys? It's 2024. They have that for rich people's gated communities, so they should do that for fire crews. But what is the cost of the cleanup when you have devastated communities, right? Versus the cost of not developing something. I hope they would do the right thing instead of the taxes they can get from development. Okay, let me take some vitamins right here. Then I need to make a sandwich. I got my D and my B. All right, anything else to check out real quick? Because I want to put the Fresno meeting back on. I missed the beginning messing around with the webcam that crashed. And if you haven't seen the show or you're just tuning in, we try to be live throughout at least the worst parts of the day during terrible red flag type conditions. We're live much of the summer. And we went and did almost daily wildfire monitoring deep into December last year, because thanks a lot, El Nino. Ventura County's last fire was in the middle of December, so I'm extremely behind on my personal affairs. Still, like I've got things on the to-do list from December. So I do have to spare my voice, but the more meetings and videos I can turn on, the better. Our current red flag condition is everywhere from Stockton to Shasta, a little bit into the just north of the Bay Area, all over by Clear Lake, but don't think that the conditions in the rest of California are much better. You know, I think they should have a yellow flag, orange flag, and red flag system. That's just my opinion, so that they can tell the public, be very careful. Red flag has a set number of numbers. It has to be below X amount of humidity, wind speed have to be above X number, and you know, heat has to be above X temperature. And sometimes the conditions are just as bad, where it's just a couple numbers off, like, you know, 28% humidity versus 32 or something, and a red flag's not issued, and the public is just kind of left unaware that the danger is still pretty great. So I would hope that just for communication's sake to the public, that kind of thing would happen. It's kind of like the little fire danger today, Smoky Bear signs, you know, as you're going into the forest. It's got like a half circle color to your wheel, to low, moderate, medium, and high risk or something. Right now, a lot of people outside the red flag zone may be totally unaware that fire behavior would be pretty similar outside of it, should one start. Everybody needs to be super careful. Hey, Kathleen Danforth says NASA is giving us a heads up on their new satellites are showing San Andreas Fault cracking. What? Oh dear. I've not heard anything about that, but my opinion on the earthquakes in California is, if it hasn't happened in a long time, it's probably about to happen. So weird things happen to me. I was let me get my paper in order here. I was at a Mongolian barbecue restaurant with my aunt, and I said, you know, California Central Valley kind of area, central to southern, hasn't had an earthquake in a while, so I think I kept having a couple of dreams about it because it's been on my mind. I said, I bet we're a little bit overdue for one, and she goes, oh, what makes you say that? I said, well, just one hasn't happened in a bit. I keep having weird dreams about it. And she's like, oh, okay. So weird things happen to me. I go back to Oregon, and I sit at a different Mongolian barbecue restaurant with a best friend of mine, and I told him that. I said, the same conversation, and he goes and uses the bathroom, and just as he does, my phone jingles, and there's been an earthquake. There's been an earthquake. He comes back, and I was white faced, and I showed him my phone. I said, look at this, and he goes, you're a chaos mage. Didn't even phase it. I'm like, oh, okay. Weird things happen to me. All right, we are 49 minutes into the stream, and I haven't been taking timestamps so far. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to tempt the fates. Never mind. Abort comment. Abort comment. We will not comment on how the day went until it's over. The Greek fates are watching. Shh. Desi says, oh, you're talking about music. Okay. You know, they have on the ground monitoring, Kathleen, what San Andreas Fault does. I watched these old, I don't really talk a lot about earthquakes. We had a 7.2 that happened live on the stream when I was trying to get off and go to bed a couple of days ago. I'm very concerned for the people involved, of course. We all should be prepared. While things like wildfires can be fought and your neighborhood could be defended after they occur, there's an inevitability living in the Pacific Ring of Fire that quakes will happen. And so you should always be prepared, because they're the ones that are guaranteed to happen in a matter of time. So People forget about that. But ODART, I want to drop the link here in the chat. If you need a tax deductible donation, there is now in Oregon, and I'm involved trying to help promote them, and CPRO got me into it, a volunteer pilot organization. That the coastal communities will be the ones most affected, of course, by the big Cascadia subduction zone quake. So they will, at a moment's notice, be ready to take their own personal planes or timeshare planes or flying club planes, whatever, or rent one. And at a moment's notice, come from everywhere from Idaho and eastern Washington and eastern Oregon. Grab food from there as it comes in, aid, medical supplies, fly it towards the Willamette Valley, and then drop it off at the coast as like a go in between, like ferrying supplies, maybe even doctors too, back and forth to communities cut off on the coast because of the inevitable large quake that'll eventually hit the coast with probable tsunamis. So I just wanted to put the link right there. It's odart.org, O-D-A-R-T. DART stands for Disaster Airlift Response Team. So they're a brand new organization. You could be one of the basically founding donors if you want to be cool like that, right? So, but about San Andreas, even after like the 1906 quake they began, which hit San Francisco, that's the same fault line. It runs pretty far south of San Francisco, kind of along, the finger that touches the bay, So they ran string on either side of the crack. The fault line is basically a crack in the earth, right? And the string has a certain like tension and tautness, and universities perfected that over the years. Like they were doing manual observation, like how much is the string being pulled out, like on a reel, how much slack there's in it, how much tightness, right? And now they do it in a much more sophisticated way, but they could sense movements. So there's on the ground monitoring, and everybody who can, I definitely recommend this for anybody living in the Pacific Ring of Fire, like the California, Oregon, Washington. There is an app that I thought about creating years ago, but I didn't have the money, called Earthquake Network, I believe it is. Let me make sure it's called Earthquake Network. It's turning your own phone into an early warning device for earthquakes. Like you may have up to 1 minute warning. It's basically Earthquake Network, yeah. So a guy in Italy, I believe, and his team of scientists went ahead and made the app. So it shows a blue globe with a little red kind of a squiggle. I'll get a link here in a second. So as long as your phone is plugged in, it's sensing movement. So the way that earthquakes happen is they travel at the speed of an airplane from one side of the fault to the other, like a highway, like a train. And so if everybody's phone starts wiggling like this because of the quake in a straight line in one direction, at the same time, then everybody down the line who has this app is warned that there's an earthquake happening. It's coming your way. So that early warning system, that could save so many lives. So that one's called Earthquake Network. I'll put a link there in a second, but my phone just jingled with watch duty. So I want to make sure that we're not missing something right now. But it's definitely in the Google Play Store. Probably iPhone, I imagine too. So let me just tell CPRO I'm hungry. Maybe he'll come up with a meal for me right now. I just realized it's like dinner time. My nap went longer than I expected. All right, friends, keep the information coming and let me know which fire you want to know about next. Something just went to my phone. Okay. The vegetation fire. Oh, that was just the one that's in Riverside County. Still looking great. Aircraft have been released from it, so I'm going to turn off notifications. Like the one of two that was by Lake Elsinore. Keep wanting to say that wrong. vegetation fire in Monterey County, Blome Road and Berry Road at Los Lomas, just south of Watsonville. And there's smoke visible in the cans. So let's take a look. Right here. Sorry, friends. Okay. Thanks a lot, autocorrect, and thanks for making fun of me, C-Pro. I just tried to say I was hungry, and autocorrect said I was Hungary, the country. He goes, if you're Hungary, eat turkey fried in grease. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. That's cute. So, okay, fine. C-Pro, you get knuckles. All right, here is the camera. It's dark and ugly. It says it's vegetation fire. Last 30 minutes. Oh, yeah. There's spider webs all over the camera. You know what's really horrifying? Like, I've gone to where fires have been, and I'm terribly arachnophobic. So what's really stressful to me is not seeing like the devastation of what's burning so much as if a garage had a minor fire or something. It's the spider webs go black with soot, and it's the most gothic Halloween decoration, like House of Horror effect. Ugh. Okay, so it is cooking. Let's see if we can get a view in the camera angles. This is Watsonville camera 1, so it's looking south. I'm on number 1, right? Okay, so it looks like it's by Hudson Landing Road next to the AERO Valley Golf Club, if I'm saying that right. So what's the prevailing wind direction? Coming in off the coast and not too strong, according to watch duty. Now here, who knows how green it is this time of year? And what is this facility? Look, it's not granaries, is it, or something? Big dairy farm or something? Maybe, I'm not sure what that is, but suburbia has grown up right up next to it. So we'll wait for updates on that one. They've got great paved road access right there. And the wind might want to push it to the east. So we do have to keep an eye on this one because we've got so many houses to the east. You know, if I lived in these, I don't know if they have access to it or if they own this land or something. I would definitely be talking to whoever did and get permission or request that a fire break be made right here, just north and south here. All that takes is a tractor to plow down to bare earth and just run that over a couple of times, and then a fast-moving grass fire would hit a speed bump right there. It just takes a little bit of time for firefighters to arrive. Just speed bump the fire. You don't need a solid protection. Much better would be an actual brick wall sort of thing, but who knows if they developed that or not. So, but retaining walls, they don't have to be very tall. If you want to really increase the safety of your own property or your own house, instead of a wooden fence sort of affair, look into the cost of, it doesn't have to be fancy, cinder block, whatever you can afford. Retaining walls, because grass fires usually hit those and stop. So all they need is time. If they run into a wooden fence, you know what's going to happen. Oh, yeah, I do want that. Sounds food. Sounds great. Please, medium rare. C-Pro. Okay. Let's see. What else have we got? Looking back at the chat. Happy Quails. Hey, thanks for coming. And thank you, everybody who has hit the like button to help others find us. Thanks everybody who has subscribed. It's very hard to find us again. We, fire may break out near where you are sometime, or near where you have, loved ones. But since we have to restart the stream and can't just go like 24 hours, it gets harder. Every time we restart it, we have to fight the algorithm to become a relevant search result for them. So the subscribe button is the best way that when you do a search for wildfire tracking to find us. The second best way is use the filter and sort by live streams, but that's hard to remember. But it's all appreciated. Everybody shares us. We mostly spread by word of mouth. So sometimes, like if there's a crisis and big fires, my lovely mods here and helpful people in chat will help everybody while I'm even sleeping with up-to-date information, map links, you name it. Sometimes local knowledge. We have many volunteers. All my mods are volunteers here. They're wonderful. Blown fire here. Yep, that's an update for what's happening here in Monterey County. It's 1/2 an acre and contained. Oh, the black smoke is 2 involved greenhouses. So it's those greenhouses. That's what those buildings are. Yikes. So that would explain why the smoke is so oily and dirty looking. Well, that's what happens with structures. So, yikes. But at least it is contained. Let me turn off that notification. Okay. And when do you want to eat? Anytime I am hungry. Oh, correct. We're supposed to have AI and everything now. So far, I'm not impressed. Does it even make sense grammatically for anybody on Earth to say, I am Hungary, the nation? Dr. Elephant says, slop over. Come on, you namers of fires. Okay, not sure what that means. D-Probe says, I love Watsonville. In the 70s, even when it hit triple digits inland, they used to have a great air show. Wow. They don't now. Happy Quail says, raspberries. They cover crops like raspberries that way. Oh, that would make sense. It makes more sense to grow them in Oregon, where berries thrive, but whatever. Ugh, Kathleen. Ugh. Your current decorations are covered in spider webs. Ugh. Yeah, I'm a volcano watcher. I wanted to be a volcanologist. David Johnston is my hero. For going above the heads of everybody else, above the heads of government agents, his own, risking his own career. U.S. Geological Survey, they were not warning the public of all the dangers of Mount St. Helens. So he goes straight to the press himself and he says, this thing can go any moment and you will not have a warning. And the side can blow out. And you get a little bit of a warning if the top blows out. You can maybe get out of its way, not with a side blowout. I do wonder if he studied Mount Lassen. Because I grew up under the shadow of Mount Lassen at Lake Almanor, where the Dixie Fire burned. I wonder if he saw that the same basic type of volcano, and it blew its side out too. It's just nobody died because nobody was in the way, and a ranch was evacuated, but it left a trail of devastation, and some people can mistake photos of Mount Lassen's devastation area. It looks very, very similar to Mount St. Helens. So if you say, hey, this is Mount St. Helens for a while, most people just go, oh, yeah, it is. Stacey McBee, welcome, says they still have an air show. Cool. Is it quite as good as the glory days? I know the air show changed up here in Oregon after, and I sort of witnessed it, a plane crashed into a house. It wasn't involved in the air show. It was a museum plane on display there. And unfortunately, a guy took off. It's over in Hillsboro. It's west of Portland. And they had the international air show called the Oregon International Air Show. And I'll never forget all the screaming sirens and stuff going by in a big black cloud of smoke. I didn't see the craft go down, but landed squarely in a house. And a guy comes home and hears about it on the news that it hit in his neighborhood, see his house fully engulfed, and of course, the pilot did not make it. And the pilot tried to go to a local grocery store parking lot. And so he's weeping, and my wife was in there, and her car is like burning in the driveway, right? And she walks up behind him and taps him on the shoulder and said, "Hi, honey." She had walked to the new, almost grand opening of the grocery store. It's a tragedy anyway. So after that, they stopped using a lot of pyrotechnics and stuff. They used to do mock bombing runs, like, low passes, and then pyrotechnics would make it look like Apocalypse Now scene, for like warbirds and stuff. But after that, it just reminded people of bad memories, So it's still a good air show. I live streamed it, the last one, and I got a copyright claim on it because the fireworks were playing like AC/DC during the show. So I got like a different popular songs. So I got like 9 copyright hits. And YouTube suggests that I mute the fireworks show so that my video can be viewable in more countries. Yeah, fireworks without sound. Awesome. I just left it alone. The Flapping Wing says, came back down through La Pine today. There's a lot more smoke and ground smoke and still haven't heard anything. Let's check it out. Is there anything in California that we need to attend to right now? Let me know. But I do want to know, what is the current situation in Oregon's most worrisome fire of last week that we covered live. It's called the Darlene 3 at La Pine, Oregon, which is just a little bit south of Bend, east side of Cascades, so it's the drier side of Oregon. People don't realize that east of the Cascades, it's mostly a desert with little patches of drier oases, you can call it that. Not like the Sahara, but you get the idea. So none of these evacuation things are new, I don't think. Looks very similar to when we checked on it day and the day before yesterday. They really strengthened lines near all of the habitations. So let me say that 0107 Darlene 3 checkup. Now, if somebody comes in and says, what about the Darlene 3? I could tell them, just rewind the video a little bit and you'll find it. So, yeah, we don't get a whole lot of new information. They had daily updates, they had meetings. So I can check their Facebook, because there's a lot of agencies involved here, from BLM to Forest Service and whatnot. So that I do this especially for the people who don't want to use Facebook or Twitter. That's where a lot of the evacuation and critical fire info is at. I want to retire. I don't like doing this. I don't like covering fires. I just do it because people are lost without this info. Officials make it too difficult to find and be updated on critical information. So I have an average of 75 tabs open in this window alone for most of the fires we're covering at the same time, because there will be the sheriff's office Twitter, there'll be the county's emergency services Twitter, and likewise both of their Facebooks. Then there will be their website. Then there will be sometimes CAL FIRE updates, sometimes Forest Service updates, sometimes for the same fire as it spreads out on different types of land. And then there will be watch duties updates. You get the idea. So, like every fire, like here for the Darlene, I have a ton of tabs open. So let me show you my tabs. So for Darlene, just for that one, in my tab group, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different tabs for information. Just for Darlene 3. So we haven't gotten an update quite some time. It said 7 hours ago, they said it held overnight. We only have one look at it, which is, unless you guys have a camera link maybe to a backyard webcam or something I'm not familiar with, or It's basically Mount Bachelor's snow cam, and you could see it in the corner, and I'll give you a link in a second. They said it held overnight 3,889 acres, 60% contained. Right? So when we last checked it, I think it was yesterday, it had grown, they said, from 43% containment to 50. So now we got a new 10% containment on it. Great. Increasing containment and keeping the fire within its current footprints remains the primary focus. Crews will continue to identify and extinguish hotspots within 100 feet of the entire perimeter, creating a cool black line around the fire. You know, that's very smart. You know, if you got to start somewhere, do it around the edge first, and then work your way into where the fire was to extinguish the hot spots. And that just means like piles of dead trees that fell on each other, a bunch of branches broke off in a storm in a pile, a dead tree fell down, maybe a bunch of oily bushes growing in a cluster, and a little bit underground, like the roots of a dead tree that leaned over, you know, and like the root ball is there, stumps. That's usually what creates a hot spot. So they just look at it with infrared, and it's a little bit of white. Everything that's black is cold, and little white spots are hot. So they can find those pretty easily, especially at night. And the weird thing about it is when they do find a hot spot, they'll put, you know, water and stuff on it and use a rake and mix it into the soil. Then they take their glove off and take their hand and make sure the soil is cold. Man, our heroes are something else. So additionally, repair fire suppression activities will begin to rehabilitate the dozer lines and other impacts in the interior portion. So I hope what they mean by rehabilitate dozer lines is not make them look ugly on the landscape. I hope they don't destroy them, because fires that break out in the same fire-prone areas sometimes repeat their own behavior just because of, you know, go to the same place, spread in the same kind of area because of geography. So if they created a dozer line that's like north and south, if they ever want to stop it from getting, say, a lightning strike or, you know, another incident like this, if it's started by train tracks, another one should start by the train tracks, and the wind should be going the same direction. You know, it was an east wind, and south first at south and then the east wind. It'll start going up here, it's much harder to control. So if they made a dozer line north and south, they should strengthen it and make it permanent, in my opinion. So when they say rehabilitate, if anybody in the community can ask them what exactly does that mean? We should know. That's a smart thing to do. But I've seen some very non-smart rehabilitation when they've made perfectly good fire breaks. It happened in Oregon last year, and I'll have to look it up which one. I think it may have been the one that was south of the one that was affecting the oh gosh, let me just zoom out and look. It was one of the national forest fires last year. The little fire footprints. Can we click on them? No. Okay. Well, it was one of those that was threatening mostly just state forest land, and they bragged. They put this Facebook photo up, and it showed a perfectly good fire break before and after. So it's like a fire break is basically just plowed earth in a line, and you could squish down the dirt and make a primitive road. It's not going to be the best thing, you know, four-wheel drive for sure. Just put a gate on it, keep the riffraff out, and the next time a fire's there, you have it ready made. We need fire access roads so that when lightning strikes, they just pounce on it, especially if there's high wind. The reason that some of these fires got big was they didn't have any access for trucks with water. I mean, you have two options in the wilderness. You could put out a fire with a rake and a shovel, like Smokey Bear has a shovel, or with water trucks. Which one do you think is better? So, to my horror, they made a Facebook post, I believe it was Forest Service, but don't quote me. And they said, we have destroyed the fire break, and they took all the dead trees from the area and dumped them on the fire break in a straight line, and you could just see it going through the forest. I said, great, what are you doing? That's now going to be one solid straight line where the fungus that is attacking our trees and making them weak and killing them and allowing insects to then finish them off. The fungus needs dead material, and it'll just spread in a straight line from dead pile to dead pile, which is just now they're all together. And then all it takes is a match or a lightning strike, and then that's a dead line of really heavy logs in a row. Like you just created a ready-made fire in the same spot where you've spent millions to fight it. You're promoting disease and mega fires. That's an unnatural situation. So we need to change some policies, but the good news is that if we the public become aware of this kind of thing, we can push for change, and then many of these reasons for fires getting big and out of control in bad conditions will stop. We can fix a lot of this. We can't do nothing about the climate immediately, but we need to adjust. Situations change. We need to adjust our policies and not do anything stupid, right? And no more time for games. Kathleen says, yeah, and we need to. How much? We need definitely to fix. Like logging should be there to make the forest healthy, not to just eliminate chunks of it with clear cut, right? Sanity's in the center. Thinning and forest health should be what logging turns into, and they may need subsidies or something like that. Who knows? Because that may not be the most profitable thing ever, clear cutting is. But we need to kind of stop that, especially on hills. That's erosion and whatnot. Promote the growth of old growth. Reduce fire risks. That should be restoring health. Remove invasives. And we need loggers' help to do that. So we need to stop extremism on each side, where people are like, leave the forest alone and don't cut down any trees. That's not going to be good. The ones that are half dead and dying, beetle affected, you got to cull the weak to make the healthy live, and yet you don't clear cut it. That's basically just destroying chunks of the forest for a bit. Sanity's in the center, forest health, not destruction. And this extremism on each side means destruction. Thank God most people are sane. Matt Cass says, how much RAM do you need to run all the on my computer to handle all the tabs? Well, current RAM usage right now, and we'll look at whatever just jingled. Let's see. Let's see what my current RAM usage is. I wish Edge browser just had Task Manager. That's right, processes. So I'm using 74% of RAM. I have 32 gigs of DDR4. So that's huge. I probably should have upgraded to 64. That might make the stream a little bit more smooth, but I actually think my current bottleneck is a video card. I'm running a Ryzen 9 5900X. That has tons of cores. It's producing a tremendous amount of heat right now. Like, I'm thinking of, it's like maybe open a window or get a fan in here. But I had to buy I just have a 3070 card, and it's low on VRAM, which is VRAM is the and we're not done with Darlene quite yet. Is that the same Facebook page? Sheriff's Office. Let's see if the Forest Service is giving us an update. And we'll check on what just jingled me. When you buy a super processor with a lot of cores, each core is only as good as the amount of RAM that can be devoted to it, right? So like say you want to transport, I don't know, it's like maybe trucking or something. You want to transport a lot of trailers. Well, the trailers don't go anywhere unless you have a lot of the big rigs, right, to transport them. So if your processor is like buying, 20 semi-truck trailers, I mean, the box that goes on the bed. Well, if you don't have enough RAM for each one, nothing happens. So that's why you need huge amounts. So but I think we need a better video card, but I'm waiting for the next generation. The 40 series video cards, the current generation of NVIDIA cards, are massive fire hazards. They spontaneously combust because of issues where the connection of the power cord goes into the video card itself. And so they say that there have been fixes and whatnot, but there's I don't care. You know, they also produce tremendous amounts of heat and suck down energy. The new generation's about to come out. Well, we're fine for now. A 3070 is quite good for what we're doing right now. So it's on the to-do list. It's a very powerful video card, just choked by not having enough RAM. So hey, Small World Life, and thank you for your kind donation yesterday, guys. Desiree says manzanita is an oily bush. Yeah. What people don't realize is, like, in the forest, there's huge amounts of invasive oily bushes. Just think of them as all over Oregon. Just think of them as gasoline bushes, like little barrels of gasoline. They're called Scotch broom, gorse, Spanish broom, Portuguese broom, and these are nightmares. And they happen to be all over Oregon, especially where trains used to run, because the seeds seem to have spilled out of trains somehow, and it was considered an ornamental, decorative, beautiful plant. Certain types of the year, they bloom mustard yellow, and yet that's when you see them just for miles. And they take over, they destroy all of the native plants. They're a huge risk for extinction for much of our native plants. And then that's a domino effect for the insects that depend on our native plants. And then like native frogs that depend on the insects. These are poisonous. So if deer and stuff try to munch on them, they're not going to have a good day. But they produce tremendous amounts of oil in there, like inside of them. They have a colony root system. So if one of them is in a field, if you don't take care of that, pull it out by the roots, it's going to colonize that field, kind of like bamboo is underground, right? So you can't just snip it off or whatever. The root system will be spreading underground. So if one of these is on fire, it's like a black smoke cloud. It's terrible enough for just one little bush. If you have these in your yard, you have an oil drum in your yard. Like, that's not defensible space. I don't know how much this affects California too, but just let me know if you see them around. And they make little seed pods like snow peas. And then these things just blow off in the wind. So if one of those is on fire, fire department comes, puts out the bush. We're done. Good. Okay. No. Then all of a sudden, like maybe the next day, the same field's on fire, but across the field, different bushes are on fire. It's because of the colony root system. It can go down there because animals burrow, snakes and rat holes and gophers and rabbits. There's plenty of air down to at least some of the roots, so it'll slowly spread along the roots. And I've seen these bushes run the entire length of the right of way of, where the big high tension power lines are, and they run through the forest, so there's like a greenway of just mostly, it's supposed to be just grass underneath them. Well, if it's this, you can imagine in high wind how that would fuel fire. It would just be like lining up barrel drums of oil, crude oil, all across the landscape. That's the way you got to look at it. So there's a lot we need to do to groom our forest back to health. This is taking over everywhere west of Gales Creek in the Salmonberry River Canyon in Oregon, where the Tillamook burn happened. So it's priming us up for a second Tillamook burn, which was the one that inspired Bambi's forest fire, one of the biggest America ever had in 1933. So we really got to get on this. It's not just hurting the environment, it's setting us up for million, if not $1 billion disasters. So there's many things we can do if we roll up our sleeves. And we have people at the border who want to work and want jobs. Here we go. Set up new CCC camps. Do temporary work permits. Have them learn English and new skills like working forest, because we need a lot of manual labor to roll up our sleeves and get this done. If we don't want to use herbicides and chemicals. And so it can be seasonal jobs, and the harder, better they work, the more they would have a path to citizenship. And then we could take our youth to learn forest management skills too, like back in the day in the 30s. We we could groom our landscapes back to health and not, we need to not have these mega fires. They're pretty much because of mankind's mistakes. Huge mushroom cloud mega fires are pretty rare in nature if the landscape is natural. And we need to replant a mix of native trees that resist fire. They pretty much were cut down and never replanted. So we have pretty much the Douglas firs, like dominating Oregon and some other parts, and other pine needle producing trees. And they promote fire by dropping the needles and the sap. The ones that resist fire, things like the cedars, the sequoias, the redwoods, that family, they used to be a lot more common and interspersed. And we can do a lot to bring everything back to health. And the oaks are great. They resist fire, awesome. All right, so let's see here. All right, so Wildcat says I checked this coming week, and following week we'll be up to, yeah, it's triple digits. So hold on to your butts. I do expect to have a bad, possibly a very bad weekend. And that's just my sobering assessment of that. For the fire potential and danger is very, very high. And then we've maybe already seen some fires started by fireworks. So this is the Quail Canyon 2. I wanted an eye on that. Which fire was the Quail Canyon 2? Forgot. Which one are we looking at? I'll show you the one and only cam we have for the Darlene. Oh, right, okay. This is what are they calling it? The Sierra fire is doing. Okay, to finish up Darlene, the whole point of that is I'm alarmed when they say we're doing rehab of the fire access roads, also known as a fire line. And I'm just hoping that they don't put dead trees in a straight line on it like we've seen before. So I may I'll make a note here to actually ask them. So what does rehab mean for the dozer lines? They're pretty good about getting back to the Facebook and stuff, even though they don't have community meetings. So this is our live camera of the Darlene 3. I've heard there's more smoke. This is the cloud chaser cam at Mount Bachelor. There's a lot of, yeah, we can't really tell the difference between the clouds and smoke. But if you do have like a photo and you have watch duty, there's a little photo button. You don't have to join watch duty or register. You can submit an anonymous photo. So you get on the watch duty app, take a picture of smoke or whatever you're seeing, and then you can submit that through watch duty itself. Got a little bit of breeze on Mount Bachelor, and you can see the jostling of those branches in real time. But I mean, up on a mountain, it's always a bit more breezy. But the Darlene 3 fires in the top right corner, the very top right corner in the flatland. So we saw a mushroom cloud being produced, when it was first going. So, but if you think about it, within their perimeter, the more that can actually they can let it burn out, like the dead stuff. Let those, say a pile of lumber or dead trees burn. That's making it more fire safe for the next season. So I wouldn't be too concerned about smoke. I would only be concerned if they say something flared up and jumped a line. Everything where the existing fire footprint is right here. If they let some of the things like the old stumps and like dead trees just kind of burn, you just get ash fertilizer and you're safer next year. So I won't be concerned unless they say you should be. They did such a great job at protecting the town. Those are very strong lines, and everybody, the community, and have groomed the landscape to keep this from becoming huge. All the years prior of hard work, getting rid of the dead and down stuff and the dead trees and thinning it out have paid off. The trees look very healthy from all the photographs that I've seen. So that goes to show that when you don't do the extremes, you don't, clear cut, but you don't let it grow out of control, thick and crazy. Sandy's in the center, and you have better outcomes. I don't know if LaPine would still be here if they didn't do that, because it would have started making its own wind direction and weather if it was like a mega fire. If it had huge amounts of fuel, who knows what the wind direction would have done? That would be long range spotting. It would be big. So I'm very pleased with everything out here. I just hope that they'll explain what they think the cause was soon. That's been very frustrating. It started by railroad tracks. So what else? Was it a train? Did a train go by at the same time? Accident? What? Let us know. Right now the community's on edge. All right. So looking at we didn't get any updates since June 25th for the sheriff's office. That's basically they tweet about evacuations. That hasn't changed for quite some time. So, okay, here's the Forest Service emergency closure, but I had their Facebook. It was up here. Let's go to Deschutes. Or what? Yes, Deschutes National Forest. Let's do that. Deschutes Forest. Sports and recreation. Okay. Yes, this one had been giving us some good updates. Something random. Campfire tips. Dago. Sparks Lake. Okay. Yeah, last time they updated was 2 days ago as well. I hope they just keep updating the public at least twice a day on something, some way. The more information we have, the more people are calm and cooperative and just feel okay. Anxiety is pretty bad about, fires for obvious reasons. Okay, do we have what am I want to do? Do we have anything new, guys, to look at? I want to check on what aircraft are up to. My biggest fire of concern, an albatross. Is that a red star? Like a Soviet aircraft? AERO? Vodochty? How do you say that? L-39 albatross. Wow, that's a museum craft. 40 years old. Late Soviet fighter jet, comrade. That's neat. All right, that stood out. Now we've got a huge air show at the Basin. That's still my biggest concern. I want to check it. Let's see. The Basin is at. Yep, I was correct. I said it'll be at least 10,000 acres by dawn. We saw it very active throughout the night. I'm going to turn it a little bit after the stream ended. So 134. Okay. I do have some battle maps. They're pretty cool. They don't show exact dozer lines. I haven't been able to find those. But the same maps that they gesture to when they have a meeting. And we could see get a little bit of an idea about what their protection plan is going to be. They have two very bad problems. It's an east-west canyon that goes up and downhill. Vaguely, right? So what fires like to do is follow where the wind blows. The wind pushes them around. That's the fastest way that they can spread. Also, so is uphill, up slopes, right? And the weird thing is fire can race downhill because things like a pine cone on fire dropping off a tree will just bounce down the hill or the mountain. So the steeper it is, the more likely it gets all the way to the bottom, lights the bottom of the next hill on fire, and it races up the next side. That doesn't take any wind. That doesn't take any kind of bad conditions. It's called rollout spread. So they have risk of rollout. They've got a wind tunnel to deal with. Triple digit heat now. And if the wind really picks up, it can just race, especially west to where the reservoir is. And then I would be a little bit concerned for the Sanger area. I don't know how well the fire could travel all the way down there, but at least where this reservoir terminates, there's at least some farms. And once fire gets to flatlands, it's much easier to deal with. That's reassuring. Their huge problem is how they keep it from getting further east down this wind tunnel and climbing in elevation. They want to keep it out of the sequoias. We lost like 35% of all sequoias on Earth to wildfires since like 2020. Thanks a lot, PG&E, because basically too many firefighters were on the Dixie Fire, which was so gigantic, and Powerline Company started it, that 35% of the nation's firefighters were on that fire. It spread across 4 counties into a little bit of a fifth. The Dixie Fire was larger than some nations on Earth. So because everybody was on that, it was so huge. Only 17 firefighters were left to respond to lightning fires that happened at the same time as the Dixie in 2021. And even though the lightning fires stayed really calm and peaceful on top of a mountain, they soon became the K&P complex and the one that burned in the Sequoia Kings National Park and a different national forest where almost all the sequoias live here on Earth. That's their last habitat. The Ice Age glaciers destroyed most of them in the California mountains. It was like a little bubble where they were protected. So they're very fire resistant trees, but mega fires are the only thing that can basically kill them. So that's an extremely difficult task, is keep it from going west and keep it from going east. And there's not a lot of roads here. I don't know that you even could put a lot of roads in here because of the steep, rugged nature of the terrain. Where they could put them in, or at least make helicopter landing pads, we would have much better options for fighting the fire. They will not any longer, no longer is the policy of parachuting in firefighters or letting them hike in and having no way to get them out if sleep hits the fan. We used to lose crews like 20 fatalities at a time, and there's some sad movies about that, when they allowed crews to go into a place where there's no escape. So even though they might might be able to stop a fire from spreading a certain direction, it's very frustrating. They just can't without a quick way to get them out. So that usually means road access or helicopter clearing. It doesn't have to be like a landing pad with concrete. That's just a clearing, You're nearby where they're working. So, thank you, Shay Baby. Thanks for the compliments here. Let's see here. Hey, did I miss any chat? Hey, Ladybird, thank you so much for your kind donations too. Basic J, didn't see you guys. T Dust, hi, how you doing? Husky, don't you worry about a thing. I'd take a nap too. I watched the Basin. It got pretty active and bright last night. We're talking about it. This is still my #1 concern. We're becoming a huge, huge affair, a huge destructive affair near a sensitive, last of the sequoias. So, most of the time it's been down in the oak hills, and the grass is the main fuel and oily type bushes. The oaks will survive. Like, of the living trees, we'll have a very high percentage of survival, up in the 90s, like 90%. They're here ready for this kind of fire. They evolved for it. But if it becomes a mega fire and a full-on forest fire, that's a different story for any kind of tree up in the mountains. Be right back. Oh boy, man, I need to tip C Probe. He just hand delivered me a meal, guys. Man, super mod. Check it out. We got air fried fries. Ooh, this is a huge plate of barbecue sauce. Sweet Baby Ray's has no onions. Oh, I need to get my tray. I just cleaned off my desk, but I'm messy. So yeah, dinner bell. Excuse me, guys. Let me get a tray. Let's go and get a different drink here. So what I'm trying to do is, it is a dire circumstance for sure. You know, where we don't have good access to fires. The only reason that this Basin fire got big, there were at least 18 lightning strike fires on the 24th of June, and this is when the Basin began. They pounced on 17 of them and got them when they were small. The hog kind of got slightly big. They did amazing work with it in just a few days. So that's a non-factor. We haven't even looked at it for a bit because you're like cleaning that up, and that's a great relief to the people who live by it. But because they didn't have good access, and they were hesitant, of course, to put parachute in firefighters with no way out, this thing got big. They were literally hiking around to it, and that takes time. And so you do want to put out all fires, no matter how small they are, right before you get really bad fire weather. That's just common sense. The time to let things burn would be like the spring storms when it's kind of wet. You know, that's when you can control things. Or the wet season, or set up. Well, the tray. Set up nice and easy control burns, you know. We have to introduce fire to the landscape very, very, very slowly. For the health of the forest, it's a requirement, but not all wildfires are the same. Wild means out of control. That's definition. Control burn is a lot better. It's planned for ideal conditions. There's a lot of newbies out there who don't know how to really do it. We've had some accidents. So the public is a little bit skeptical of that. But I'm confident that, especially with consulting Native Americans who have, 11,000 plus year history of doing that, probably more like 25. I'm not saying the current knowledge goes back all that way, but they know what to do. And it was against their advice that, Forest Service and other agencies stopped like all fires ever after being traumatized by things like the Tillamook burn. What do the natives know? They've only been here thousands of years, grooming their landscape. They were totally dependent upon their environment for food. What do they know about making it ideal for the health of the animals and mankind alike? Well, what would they know? Well, there's a lot here that we can improve, and it doesn't have to be anything destructive. The positive side of this is just clear a couple of landing pads on top of landing areas on mountaintops in a hopscotch kind of arrangement. Have helicopters standing by ready to evacuate, and then we can parachute in crews without them rolling the dice about whether or not they're going to come back from their assignment. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Say Baby, for the praise. And I live on pats on the head sometimes. It's exhausting, and like I said, I don't like doing this particularly. It's just there's a need. So, knowing that we are helping people, that gives me the fuel too. So, I'm grateful for that. Okay, that's right. I was eating. So let me. Which fire should we check next? I've got battle maps here. Their last briefing on this was 2 hours ago. There was a slop over on the southwest portion of it, and that is now the head. So that lines up with where this aircraft is circling around. Their priority of protection right now is Balch Camp, and then the slop over, and then the Mike area, which is the northeast portion of the fire, in that order. Crews are making good progress on the 15 to 20 acre slop over down in Division Mike. Oh, and they did a update for the public. That'll be cool. Let's watch that. But let me give you a sneak peek of the battle maps I have, guys. Amazing. So it's not the ones that have the map key. If people who know about how to read their maps and what the symbols mean, I am all ears here. Let's see, where's find that website? There we go. Okay, California incidents. It's just a list of downloadable files. It's hard to navigate. See the June Lightning Complex Basin. Got it. So what's IR? Okay, that's information for pilots, aircraft maps. IAP. Let me see what this file is before I show it to you. Oh, that's the incident action plan. Oh yeah, I got that for today. So it's a comprehensive report where they sign off on it, I don't know, the night before or whatnot. And it has more information than, this thing is like 31 pages. And it has a lot of personal names and phone numbers, so I can't just show it to you guys as a file. But we can read that for the Basin fire too. Ah, that hits the spot. Thank you, C-Pro. And thank you guys for your kind donations. Everyone, every once in a while, somebody says, "Here, eat healthy food." Well, we've got a nice grass-fed organic steak here and air fry fries. Ah. Steak is a treat. I don't get it often. I buy a lot of fish. I've replaced a lot of red meat with salmon and Alaska pollock. A couple of things. I'm trying to really cut back on tuna as much as I like a good tuna fish sandwich in between French bread, slices with sweet pickles, mayo, salt mixed in. Sweet pickle relish. Toxins. Okay, let me look back. Chat. This is our 12-hour time lapse of the Delilah 1, and we've seen some. This is the Basin fire. This is my fire of greatest concern. I will show you the battle map, which is like how they explain to their crews. Here's Delilah 2. What the day is going to be like and what their goals are. So let me take more bites of food as I pull that up, and do put in the chat anything that you want to know about any fire here. Thanks, Bob. Matt Cassell says, Cassell. Matt C says, PG&E hydro facility at Balch Camp. Imagine that's why they're prioritizing it. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I've seen that there's a home or something there, or I don't know if they own it or if it's lived in like a residence. We looked at the little Google car thing. Excuse me. And then the Google car stops before going into the area. It could be like they kind of took over an old community or something. I don't know the age of these powerhouses, but I would imagine, just looking where the power lines go, that they provide a lot of it to Fresno. And if Fresno's power is disrupted, maybe their communications. And well, people need that. People need power. Triple digit heat waves, you need your power. PG&E houses employees there since it's so remote. Yeah, so people live there. Yeah, thanks for the info. So there's little powerhouses. Maybe we could find pictures of them. Now this is pretty zoomed in, but you can see pink retardant splashes every so often, like that. And here's the aircraft that just dropped it. Kind of in this little bubble blurb right there. Let me raise this so that there's more in the frame. You can see which time lapse I'm doing. There. Oh, I'm sorry. My old note about the Fresno meeting line. We're looking at that in the Basin right now. So they have still a lot of aircraft on it. They've been throwing everything in the kitchen sink at it. Now, the oaks are going to come out well, but this is a good example of what vegetation, just how thick the grass and the brush is. So unfortunately, these piney trees here, like say the fire cave, these needle-producing trees, I wouldn't expect that they'd survive. And it's because of the bushes and the bushes at the base. Now, if they're spread out, they don't have the lower limbs die because the lower limbs stay alive because they have light access. What the problem is they're close together, and if there's brush growing, competing for light at the base, these are tall bushes here. If their lower branches are not producing with photosynthesis, they don't have access to sunlight, the automatic response of the tree is cut off its lifeblood to it, and the limb dies. It eventually fall off. But that's when fungus starts attacking it, and then the tree is fighting a disease. This is why it's important to space them out. Now, if there's no dead branches at the base, a mature tree has pretty fire-resistant bark. That's what bark does. It's one of its main functions of its armor. It's also like skin. So it keeps out the plant viruses, the plant bacteria, the plant fungus. Fungus, viruses, and bacteria. There are specific ones that just live to attack plants. Plants were here a long time before people. So the weird thing is trees developed immune systems to fight viruses, fungus, and bacteria before like mammals walked around, right? So they've been doing it a long time. So if you ever heard of essential oils for medicine, it's basically just concentrating the plant's immune system into an oil. And if it's not fake, if it's not just for aromatherapy, some plants are very, very good at fighting specific bugs. So, for example, myrrh, like if you heard of frankincense and myrrh, those things are extremely antimicrobial, and they fight MRSA and staph infections just better than antibiotics. But their use is only topical. So, like literally put it on an open wound kind of stuff, mostly. Drinking them and stuff is not going to do anything. Don't do that. So, fungus, though, is weakening these trees. And it may be like opening the gate for beetles to walk in. It really depends, but fungus likes darkness. So when there's a bunch of bushes growing up against these trees and they're growing too close together, then they can do a full-on assault. And that's the other missing piece of the puzzle, is there's a massive assault on trees in the West with aggressive fungus. So you get the heavy rains we've had last 2 springs. And so we've got a huge, thick crop of, I missed. Sorry, I meant to kind of be here still in the same frame. We got a thick crop of grass, right? Worse though, the bushes. So if it's on fire, if a tree has dead branches still attached, the fire will reach up the flames from the grass and touch those branches and light the tree on fire. But if it's mild, like if there's not a lot of bushes at the base, right, the tree could still survive. It'll be kind of damaged. It's not too windy and not too many other trees on fire next to it. but it cannot survive if there's a lot of bushes at the base, oily in nature, like chaparral, and it's really thick, plus thick grass, plus the dead branches. The heat is going to kill the tree. The heat rises. So unfortunately, in like the Caldor fire and the Dixie, a lot of trees that normally would make it died because so much the brush was so thick at the base of the tree that the heat killed it. It's like putting a tree in an oven. It can only take so much. So the oaks have the best chance of survival, having pretty super fire resistant bark, but the oaks can only thrive when it's kind of open and mostly in grass. They get stunted and don't fully spread out with their umbrella. They're supposed to have an umbrella look, an open umbrella. If they're competing for light next to pines, they get this weird like V shape, like an umbrella is not totally open, and you can tell it's kind of a stroke, kind of an oak. But where the bushes are not thick, like here, oh god, it's a lot of dead trees. Oh man, we've seen the oaks survive, so don't worry for them so much. It's just that like spots like this, you don't have a lot of hope for, like, say, that grove right there with this level of bush. And when dead trees are in the landscape, that's what keeps it from being a fast moving like grass fire that fertilizes the land versus, oh, it's going to be a mega fire because now there's a huge fuel load. And here, these dead trees, if they go up, since they're still standing, they can throw the wind could pick up burning bits of their branches, and they'll all burn and shatter, right? And fall, dead ones. Just shatter and throw burning pieces all over the ground. That's when, if the mega fire thing shows up, like the pyrocumulus cloud, it will form if there's enough heat, enough stuff on fire, and suck up the burning pieces and throw them miles across the landscape. We've seen the pyrocumulus cloud show up a couple of times. That will be the biggest nightmare, where it may not be possible to keep it from, like, say, if the wind's from the west, keep the fire from reaching the sequoias in the east. That's and that's why I'm very concerned for this one. We can only see some of the landscape. You know, I haven't like been here. A long time ago, we went down the highway and visited the sequoias, and I barely remember it. I was a wee little thing, right? So your local knowledge really helps, but I've got a sobering kind of assessment of the landscape. I think a lot of the pine type stuff will bite the dust, but isolated oaks that we've seen, like especially the flash and bolt fire, as long as they're just grass underneath them and they're still alive, 90% above survival rate. But this, they got their work cut out for them. This is tough. Look at the steepness of that slope. Can you imagine hiking up there to try to do something with a fire line? Man, hot shots are something else. They're some kind of rugged. They must have the physique, you know, and the build of like, and the athletic prowess of like a gladiator. You got to be super in shape to do that. So, Husky says where there is tons of built-up vegetation, oak and other fire-resistant trees can't take it. Right. The oaks won't make it if they're trying to grow in thick brush. It stunts their growth. They need to spread out, get lots of light. So the thing about pine trees and some of those that produce needles is they're in a race to outgrow other trees. So sometimes they'll even wrap themselves parasitically around an oak tree and steal all of its life over time, weaken it over time until the oak falls over dead. I've seen that. I was at a local church where I kept going there to donate canned food. Often I just saw the oak and I admired it all the time. It was a probably pre-white man oak, you know, like a pre-Pioneer Day oak. Probably started growing in the 20s, 30s. Huge, majestic. And before I knew anything, before I knew any better, I used to think that is so cool. Man, you need sunglasses today. This is our current look at the Delilah 2. So this is looking at the reservoir. This is looking west by southwest. You know, Fresno, the town would be, the city would be far off to the left there. It's not that far from the lake. So the point is, though, is I thought the two trees were married, and I even called it that. And other people who didn't know anything about trees, so oh, that's kind of cute, because the tree was off by the parking lot, and this big Douglas fir was wrapped its own trunk around it, And I didn't know it was parasitic in nature, and it was killing it. We have plenty of Douglas firs are like weed trees. It's their strategy, if a plant can have a strategy for survival, that they grow faster than other trees and deprive the others of light, parasitically leach off of other trees. And the other insidious thing they do is they promote fires. Eucalyptus are the king of doing that, but the pine trees are dropping their dead needles all the time to try to make fires happen so that competing tree species die. It's dang. But it's just like they're called weed trees like that. It doesn't mean that they're not important. They're just very, very common and take over. And if you want a good, healthy mix of fire-resistant trees, such as cedars and such on a landscape, like there used to be before the logging days and the pioneers came, what they did, unfortunately, was only replant things like Douglas firs, like in Oregon. So you have entire monocultured landscapes of only fire-promoting trees. And because they did not replant the huge, cedar ones. And so if we get a better mix, then we'll have a healthy landscape. But there's so many issues. At least once fire goes through an area, the good news is that we can replant in a smart way. Just we can't get back the old growth sequoias, the ones that have been growing for 1,000 years. We just have to protect them. So this is my huge concern. None of us will be alive. It'll take, it takes 1,000 years for a 1,000-year-old tree to return. And those are world treasures. Very few places on Earth have trees that old. I am concerned for, the inhabitations in this area, East Fresno, Sanger kind of region. And I'm sweating bullets for the sequoias on this. But let's take a look at battle maps. Yeah, sounds like marriage. Wow, Matt. Parasitic relationship sounds like marriage. Matt, you're fired. You're canceled. Oh my God. I am telling all my girlfriends, you're canceled. Okay, back to the battle maps. I found them. I found them over here. I also found their incident action plan. So let me show you today's briefing map where they get up in front of their crews and they explain priorities. They make a new map, print it out like every day, or maybe it's digital these days. You know what I'm saying? We have maps for where their airdrops are. Aha, briefing, Arch, E, land, Basin, 6:30, evacuation map, something else, and for IR, whatever that is, it sounds like it's for pilots. Pilot page map. Let's check out. Oh yeah, here's one for the public, and it sucks. Like it's got low fidelity here, but it's a JPEG. The others are extremely high resolution PDFs. So like here's what the public gets. Can you zoom in? Can you read anything? I can't. There's fuzzy words. I can kind of make out a lot. Like that's Balch Camp right here. The fire's edge is up at it right now. So it spread towards it last night. We saw the we pinpointed where the big glowing, most active, smoke producing part was. That's called Sycamore Springs Creek. And so you can see how it jumped over the line here. It went all the way up the canyon up to where the spring creates the creek. The spring is just a hole in the ground where water's always flowing out all the time. It means the mountain is got caves and hollows and spots in it. So snow melt and rain will accumulate over the eons in the hollow cavities and fill up to the top. And then it has to go somewhere. It just finds a weak spot in the earth and just exits. So most of the mountain creeks and such are just fed by spring. A lot of hollow cavities inside of mountains. We know very little about the underground of the earth. Most caves are probably undetected by humans, with no real true entrance. So there's wonders to find. Like we have not discovered everything on Earth. There's probably caves down there with gigantic crystals that 4 people could stand around like a old growth tree and link their arms around, right? There's been a couple like that discovered in Mexico. Mostly they're kind of boring and just have your standard stalactites and stuff, or it looks like hot fudge as you drizzle it on a Sunday, like those kind of limestone formations. But it'd be interesting, though, if there's any to explore in this region. So the fire raced up that slope. It was very, very bright on the cameras. They didn't calibrate them, so I couldn't tell what was light, what was smoke, what was hot smoke, what was the fire. But it was right here, and this is a considerable expansion from yesterday. So Balch Camp, it's at its doorstep right now. And we did look at that with the Google card. It's a dry bushes kind of thing. It's not over here to the west. It's still more like foothills, starting to become more piney trees, less oak and more pine and more bushes. It's much further east and up Kings Canyon that you'll get to the higher elevations that are wetter and have sequoia groves. But like I said, it's a wind tunnel. So this Kings River, you introduce strong winds and it'll race alongside of it on maybe even either side of the canyon. And that would be extremely difficult to control. Get ahead of or try to stop. So this is what the public gets. It's got the fire footprint. So it's really hard to read, but we've got something way better. I've got the battle maps. Look back at chat real quick, see if there's anything happening. The hollow earth, yes, there's a sun inside of the earth. And the mole people live there. Upside down, underground. In Shingala. I once read I thought it was a hoax, an April Fool's kind of article like that. At Pravda.ru, like a long time ago. No, it was a true Russian scientist's opinion. No. Okay. Okay. By the way, they didn't mention if this scientist was employed at all, or just an opinion writer. At Pravda.ru was the old revolutionary newspaper at the time in Lenin. It was all anti-czars and stuff. Now it's more like the Sun, the Inquirer, the National Enquirer. Bat Boy was born, sort of thing. She was a Dracula, like infant with Dracula fangs, because everybody knows babies are born with teeth, right? So it's an entertainment thing. Where did I move the cameras? Oh, Delilah is. Oh, those are old fires. Hang on, let me get it back. So I'm going to leave you the live picture. I'm going to go get the battle map up. I have to fiddle with the PDF reader, but we're going to be able to zoom in. You'll see everything. This is going to be amazing. This is where donations to making a supercomputer go. because it would chug on a slower computer. It would. Husky is saying the Sierra fire is still burning. Okay, let's quickly look at San Bernardino County here. Just take a quick gander. Okay, none of you responded that you're Mark Knopfler fans, and do you even know what I'm saying when I say we're going to San Bernardino? Ring a ding ding. Do you even know? That's what I think of every time I see San Bernardino County. It did touch Riverside County. Last update was an hour ago. Yeah. Okay. Seems to be going right. Fine. Okay. So let me take a bite here, and I'll pull up the battle map. Oh yeah, I know. See, Pravda means truth. I mean, like veritas in Latin. If you see the classical photos of Lenin giving speeches in the squares, he's holding up this rolled up newspaper. It's called Pravda. But back then, I mean, it's always been a mouthpiece of Bolsheviks. But it became their main paper after the revolution. Man, I would love to have old copies like that. They must be worth so much money. Okay, so this is sort of useful, but I don't think we have a map key, and it's been a little bit difficult to understand. I actually asked them a few questions on Facebook. We'll check if they got back to me. I said, what does it mean, this dark gray around the roads? Like, does that mean your latest line, strongest line, contingency line, main line? Do you expect a fire to go all the way to the gray highlighted roads, or is it just best access for your troopers? What does it mean? So some of the smaller roads are penciled in with a gray outline as well. And so I don't want to make assumptions about them being actual fire lines. They said that they have to let burn some places where they just can't walk in and ever have a way out. So like here down in Dinky Creek, this will probably all burn because there's no way to get down there. They can try to stop it from getting in there with retardant drops. I'm sure they are, because they try to protect Balch Camp. But we'll see a more detailed map in a second. If you can't get out in and out quickly, you can't put people safely in there. So this is what's so hard about not having fire access roads. I mean, if a super wind gust picks up, what are you supposed to do with a rake and a shovel? You know. All right, so let me pick this up. I'm going to mute some pieces, and I'm going to set up so we can view the super PDF of the this morning's briefing map, which is basically like a battle map. So let me get that up a second. Actually, I'm going to put a live view on. All right. So that is Delilah 1. Is Delilah 2 any better? Yeah, I think Delilah 1. Check that out. Do we still have aircraft? We do. We got medium-sized aircraft. We got two small copters. We got the air attack. So 7:17 p.m. Some of them won't come back. You know, they'll start timing some of the pilots out probably by 8. But they've still got some daylight, as we can see. So let me take a few more bites and get that map up for you guys. Kate Garcia says, "Yeah, I know Mark Knopfler. I sing along with you. You're in the Cool Cat Club." Great. The song's called "Boom Like That." You have to hear it. It's a song about the vicious guy who took over the McDonald's. He was selling milkshake mixes to them, Ray Kroc. So he bought them out for $1 million, and they thought that they made out like bandits, and then he turned it, into $1 billion type of thing. I guess it's $1 billion industry. Yeah. I don't know, but a lot bigger than that, right? So it's a perfect song. It's really soothing. And one of my mods can get a YouTube link to it. Man, that would be like my theme song. If I'm rich, could put that like start the show. All right, so let me get the battle map up for the Basin. Okay, we have downloaded it. It's a big file. How big is this? 15.5 megs as a PDF. Dude. Okay. Yeah, let's hit the button. Okay. Reader. There you go. Watch this. Watch this, friend. Remember how we zoomed in a little bit and we couldn't read nothing in the other one? Prepare yourself for the glory. We have smooth transitions too. Smooth zooming. I don't know if it'll allow me to do it with a scroll wheel. It doesn't look like it. But right now, I'll show you 100% zoom. Boom. Crystal clear. Crystal clear. And we do have dozer line information. I know what the X's are. Perfect. So this was produced earlier this morning, and this is what, when they say, hey, we're going to war with this fire, this is where the enemy is, and this is our plan. And so they point to it behind them, and this is in some of the community meetings. And I got my hands on it, guys, because I'm that good. So yeah, there's a slider button for Zoom. We got it nice and smooth. Remember, this is a PDF reader. You can zoom in that much. Look at that. You want to know anything about this landscape? Dude. And we can see clearly that that's Nutmeg Creek. We're at 368% zoom. 684 excuse me, percent zoom. Let's take it to maximum. 1086% zoom. I'll tell you what, like little laptops that don't have a embedded video card would just struggle with this. So we can go. Is this awesome or what? All right, let me look back at chat. This dominates my huge monitor here. Hey, Jag, welcome back. Kate Garcia says, yes, Catherine, I know Mark Knopfler. Yeah. ABC Pro. No, you're busy. you're probably cleaning up after the meal you made for me. Thank you, by the way. I'm losing my voice a little bit, guys. It's just hard to speak every day. I still have that. I called the dentist because I had that major work done, and I got a clean bill of health, but there's still residual swelling just because that was an infection of the gum, I believe, next to the cracked tooth and destroyed filling that fell apart. If I could take little voice breaks, though, it makes all the difference. I'm going to need it because we're going to have a bumpy ride this weekend, Great, they have a nice map key. So let's zoom in on the map key first, and then we will interpret this. I can also read part of the incident action plan. And Jag, thank goodness you're here. Do you know if you could use your guidance on if you know about some of the more mysterious symbols on the map? So, whoops, my clock is in the way. All right, I'm going to turn off the clock for a second. There we go. So, actually, no, we could keep it on because I'll forget about that. But I'll do this. Okay. Yeah, so whenever we go back to the main show, the clock will still be there. Okay. So, main travel routes, that's what it means. The gray, it means main travel routes. We were wondering, when we had a map that only had gray highlighted roads, does that mean, is that their contingency line? Do they mean that the fire is going to get that potentially that huge? I mean, yeah, it could under the right horrible conditions. But since we didn't know, it was like, huh. So little purple dots are heli spots, places for the helicopter land. Excuse me. Make that bigger. Special hazards or exclamation marks, who knows what, big leaning trees or power lines or something. The completed dozer line is their X's, hashes, like a row of X's. Planned dozer line is the pink. So great. Completed fuel breaks are little like alpha symbol thing. H, that's dark black, is a completed hand line, and a hand line is just using rakes and shovels and making a strip of bare earth, just scraping all the flammables on one side and the other, and widening that by hand. Rakes and shovels. If you think that takes a long time and it's grueling, back-breaking labor, yeah, it is, and it's not as sturdy as a dozer line at all. So it's a lot better than nothing. But if you have a hand line that's planned in between you and a fast-moving fire, it's probably not going to work. So if you have a completed dozer line, it's way better, because the actual hand line is not a road. It might be almost a very, very steep kind of a slope where you can barely stand without putting your hands on the ground to steady yourself, right? They sometimes make a hand line like that. But a dozer line in general, they can continue to groom it, and then they can have fire trucks drive it, or at least some of the more serious ones. And tractor-oriented vehicles can get there. Tractors are way better. They can turn regular tractors into masticators, which is putting a buzz saw at the end of a caterpillar, instead of the scoop thing. And then the tractor arm goes out and cuts down a tree safely at a distance so that it doesn't, it's very dangerous if you just walk up with a chainsaw. Especially trees that have been damaged by fire, they're more likely to shatter and hit firefighters right next to it. So if you can get tractors in there and turn them into a masticator like that, they could cut down a tree, and then there's a grinder at the end. There's it kind of depends on their configuration, but they can wood chip really quick some dead trees. And it's just a little fire on the ground instead of like something that burns like crazy, right? So that's why dozer lines are so important. I mean, they can always reach the existing good roads, assuming no bridges are washed out. But making a dozer line allows for the tractor help. So the daily wildfire perimeter is already outdated, and lines in highlighted red are the uncontained portions. We have 0% containment. So let's let me check. That's Sycamore Springs Road. That's Lower Rancheria, Cottonwood Springs. Where's Sycamore Springs? The actual creek. They didn't label it very well last time. Or maybe it has changed. Or maybe if this is a ridge, maybe this one right here is Sycamore Springs, but that's or maybe right here where the red is, it kind of went over the words. That's where it was burning like super active. It was Sycamore Springs Creek up to the spring. So I imagine it's this thing right here. I think the red got painted over the words, if it was ever labeled. So they're hard at work here on this ridge by Lower Rancheria Creek. Let me zoom in on that so you can see it. Okay, maybe not that much. Okay, let's back that off a little bit. I wish the mouse worked for zoom. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see Lower Rancheria Creek in tiny words in between the H's. So hand line is where the hand crews rakes and shovels. They're just walking it. They don't have road access. So doing work by hand here with the pink H's. Here where the black H's are, they have completed it. And that's good work. They're doing the dozer line here up on the ridge. They have a good road. So what they'll do is on either side of it, they'll try to just push away anything flammable and get rid of it, especially anything dead. And that'll be a lot more solid. So they're hard at work doing that. And then this gray means good road access, so they travel around it. And the fire jumped over this road, probably last night, in between whatever little creek that is and Dinky Creek. If you look at topo maps, it's squares 5, 4, where that is, and it's into square 3. Square 3 here is Black Rock Road and Dinky Creek. So if we go down here, they were doing a hand line. If the fire's perimeter has already gone past it, I don't imagine they are still making it. It'll depend on the conditions there. So you can see just where it's at. It's so detailed here. Balch Camp is where? I think it's right here at 3. I think 3 is Balch Camp. So let me look back at chat. I can't see chat till I flip between windows. Hey, Fireman 8124. Jack says, I wish I knew more about these maps, but I know more. Oh, okay. How did I get them? I could tell you in private through email, but I don't want to disclose it to the general public because I don't want them getting freaked out by not knowing even knowing less than I know about these battle maps, because they were kind of disturbing us because we thought that maybe the gray highlights for the map I had yesterday had no key. I thought, what did they expect? Is that a contingency line, or did they expect a fire to fill everything out in between the gray? Like it can be unless somebody's like explaining it. It's and you don't, and if you don't have a key, it's really can be disturbing rather than comforting. And like I've got access, but I don't want, especially the conspiracy channels, to know about it. Have their own interpretations and freak out the public. They do a great job of making everybody fearful. My concern is if, like every news media outlet and everybody goes and gets them, that they'll then hit the private button and we'll lose access. This is the best thing we have about knowing what their plans are, especially the details that they don't have time to tell us. Like if they were going to explain their plan, it would take hours. I have a 31-page plan for today's plan alone. The daily plan is 31 pages. So I just got a jingle for watch duty. But the gray is good access roads. But anybody who does know how to read these, they're trying to standardize also the codes. I read from a Wildfire Operation Group website that they showed old maps that were, quote, non-standard, and that showed Caldor. I was looking at the Caldors once I found out about this every day. It helped me understand that Tahoe was not protected, and that's how we got the evacuations of Tahoe started 24 hours in advance. I don't know why they didn't tell the public that, but it was very obvious that they had just started work on planned dozer lines, and the fire would spread way faster than they could complete it. And there were these jagged mountain ranges of almost solid rock, but not that wide. Like, I should say strips of solid rock on the mountain ridges where they couldn't get a dozer there. They call it being rocked out. If the dozer can't continue, it's just hitting boulders as it's kind of pushing pine needles in the ground. And then it would run into areas where it was too steep, like the dozer would tumble down the cliff, But in between were these spots of vegetation. So it was, the fire was still going to spread that way, but the dozers couldn't even go. So it was vitally important that if Tahoe was going to be safe, and Christmas Valley and everywhere east of that, even all the way to Minden, Nevada, they had to keep the Caldor fire off of Sierra at Tahoe as a plateau. It had to stay on Highway 50 and not climb the cliff called Lover's Leap. If it did, there's no stopping it. So like at 3 in the morning, I think it was Dusty Smokes and some others, real firefighters said that we got a problem here. And I didn't want to believe it, but it had climbed. So I said, okay, and my heart just raced, At this point, it's up to God and or the wind direction, whatever you believe in. Nature, whatever. Fate, chance. Take a pick. Whether or not South Lake Tahoe survives. It's an indefensible community with, like, everybody's house has 5 pine trees over the top of it, with their power lines going in between the branches of the trees. So this would be a fire that would rain from thousands of feet up above, burning pieces on all over. And so I said that's why we have to evacuate South Lake Tahoe. I don't know why they're not telling you right now, but giving you 24 hours advance notice will help you. Take your heirlooms out, check on your neighbors, get your animals. And this is how we identify that there's a crazy problem with their evacuation information. They seem to have I don't know what exactly wrong, but they did not tell people that entire day. At 5 o'clock meeting even, somebody asked a question, are you going to evacuate South Lake Tahoe or call for it? They go, nah, we'll let you know if we do. So that's why I said, guys, go right now, because you're going to be told they'll probably try it after dark in the middle of the night, because somebody in Sacramento had to make that decision. The fire was so far away from South Lake Tahoe that there's a stupid old system where fire has to get closer in order to tell people to evacuate. Okay, no, that's wrong. Is there anything in between the fire and people that will stop it? If the answer is no, tell them it's coming immediately. So I don't know what red tape Byzantine system it was. They were already on stage and telling people no. Probably when they were trying to figure it out in Sacramento. If the protocol was in place for evacuations of such a large area, maybe politics was involved. You can't ruin our economy by telling people to leave. We're already hit so hard by the fires. I don't know if that was at play. But, that's the way the Jaws movie was. Is don't tell nobody about a shark. All the tourists will leave. I have no idea what kind of pressures or backroom, whatever the hell's going on. I don't care. I'm not a part of it, so I could just tell people the way it was. But I had to fight my own sense of detrimental optimism. I had to discipline myself. So I just kind of argued with the firefighters looking at it, and I said, I don't think the fire's there. Maybe the fire's across the canyon. I don't think it's on Sierra Tahoe. Because I didn't want to believe it. And so I just calmed down. I did an exercise where I put my emotions on the shelf. I pictured myself as a scientist completely disconnected to the area, a different person. I role played it. I even thought about putting the dork glasses on, clipboard, white lab coat. If I was completely disconnected from California emotionally, what would my analysis be? And that is, there's nothing to protect South Lake Tahoe. So the map, this style map, is how we knew, because their dozer lines are incomplete. And then we confirmed it with satellite heat images and crossing the cameras to find it out. Oh, I cannot have these maps disappear. I cannot just say, here's where everybody gets them. I've got a special access. I'm not going to abuse that privilege. So I hope everybody understands that. But if you have special interest in a region or something at stake, I could send them to you. So my email is at the bottom of the description of the page. If anybody wants to know more, So let me go back to chat. And I haven't even begun looking at this, by the way. I was just explaining. Let's look at chat. Hey, Teamsteader, how are you? Teen Homesteader, how are you? Thanks for coming back. Which fire is out your back door? Colo Radio says, thank you for your hard work and info. Stay safe, Jay. Thank you for being here, Jay. Jack says, last time I looked at one of these was during the CZU. What year is that? Yeah. And Fireman 8124, good to have you back. Yeah, thanks, Jack. I hope everybody understands, yeah, that this is too important as a resource to disappear. If they did a better job explaining these to the public, they have a meeting and they just, a public meeting and they point. They really don't zoom in much. Some of the better ones did, like the smaller fires. We had some Forest Service guys really like, come here, zoom in, and they were intense, working at the fires at Hay Fork and whatnot in like 2021, 2022. Oh, it's the Basin. Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I have to get reminders of where everybody's at. So they got a lot of challenges. They had a swap over today. It's right at Balt's camp right now. So they I would put that radio on, but it was so horrible into my ears yesterday. Where this canyon is we hear snippets of conversations, and they're usually fragments, and we don't know what they're talking about. They're like, "Oh, put that dozer over here." Okay. Firefighter aircraft, we could listen to. We could turn that on, but I won't be able to get a word in. So let me just quickly. I mean, they're about off the fire. Let's look at the aircraft. I'm going to analyze this right now to see how things might go. There's a 31-page report. Oh, also, by the way, where you get the maps, there's people's private phone numbers. So I just hate for trolls to get a hold of that. But at least it's not something you can Google search for. You either know the link or you don't. And how to navigate this weird website. I have a background in web design, so I can figure it out. So they're making dozer lines into pink, guys. This is not as, I'm starting to analyze the map. This is, like I was saying, oh no, Price's Camp historical site. Oh, sorry. That's right, we're gonna look at aircraft real quick. I still have the map in front of my face. See if they're still there. That is maybe a mapping plane. I don't know what altitude it is. Yeah, 2,700 feet. Don't know what it does. Here's a helicopter. So the eye in the sky, whoops, is not there. Stop that, Edge browser. If I mouse over anything that's like a image, thinks I want to search in Bing. No, I don't want to do a visual search in Bing for a helicopter. Thank you. I just want to highlight it. Oh, I got to take that off. Yeah. Anyway, we got two helicopters. And they're pretty close to the lake. Maybe it's where they're getting water. Now, you know what we can tell? We can tell in the battle map where they're getting their water if I turn on the aircraft version. So, oh, that was 2020. But thank you for your service, of course, at that time. What is your sense and take on things, Jack? I am terrified of the Basin fire. It's we've seen it on good behavior, and it roars around left and right. It is still in the medium type fuels. It's still in the bushes, mixed oak, and some mixed piney stuff, and thick grass. What if it gets into the thick forest that's half dead, killed by beetles, and then that goes mega, and then it heads towards the sequoias? This is my big fear. I think they got everything going for stopping it by the reservoir and the irrigated fields by Singer in the northeast corner of Fresno. I'm super worried for it spreading east. So let me put the battle map back up. Let's see what they got planned. So this is actually confirmation of some of our fears. This right here. Let's zoom in. They said to the public, and my English translation of that is all this no roads, no access area. Dinky Creek, whatever Price's Camp is. I don't know if that's a historical logging place, ranger station, community, mine. I don't know. I don't know if there's historical resources there. There's no road access, so they can't stop the fire from going up Dinky Creek. Looks like their last road access ends right down here, this little squiggle. That's a lot of environment to lose, and or history, and or Indian sacred sites or whatever's in there. So they said just we can't, and on InstaWeb, we cannot put crews in danger where they can't escape quickly. It's very rational. And it means they're going to lose some places they normally could fight the fire because there's no roads there. And then they have to let them go. They have to go back to where there are roads and then strengthen the lines at the roads. So if the fire gets up Dinky Creek, like if they can't stop that, and it probably will, we're going to lose all this. Maybe they could kind of protect this area. They may not. The dozer lines are being made into pink X, so we may lose all of the landscape in between the pink X area. And why this road terminates up here on this ridge? They could work here, but look down here, the fire's this way. So if the wind came up from the south and it would drift over this canyon, it would catch them up Basin Creek, where Square 35 is. Or if it spread even more to the east down here where it says Bear Wallow, Rogers Ridge area, this is the south side of the Kings River. If it crossed to the north, it could entrap them. They could have it on all sides of them. That probably goes in the decision-making process of, even though we have some roads here, they don't really connect. They're dead ends. And since the fire's all the way down here, uncontrolled, they could have the wind pick up and they could have it on like a C-shaped ring around them, like a Pac-Man ready to bite them. So they're also considering how fast could they make the lines. Any of these roads, we don't even know their status. Like maybe there's bridges washed out, maybe they don't even connect. I've tried to drive some forest roads that look great on a map. They're dog dirt. You know, you get there and there's like trees growing in the road that are like 2 feet tall, and it disappears off the distance. You're like, where does it keep going? Just because it's on the map doesn't mean these roads have been maintained in the last 75 years. I've seen roads on the map by Plymouth County, like Ford's Wagon Road by Seneca. That road hasn't existed for 75, maybe 125 years. All I could see was normal forest, but the trees were shorter in a straight line, and the trees were like 100 years old. I went, I'll be damned. What they do with these rural roads is the map makers, they don't drive them, they don't consult satellites, they don't verify roads still exist or still connect or not washed out. They just take older maps and then they put fancier graphics over the top of older maps. I learned that the hard way, looking for ghost towns and abandoned places to go and document. I'm talking about history, not paranormal. I don't believe in paranormal stuff, but you know, like Wild West. So when you look back at the chat, the Hawker something is a misidentified helicopter. Yeah, that happens sometimes. What's your thought about this, Jag? And Fireman 8124. It's the way of things. We can't blame them for wanting to be safe. So where the pink is and the black X is, that's potential for the fire to spread all the way to them. If they get super lucky with wind or something, they can do what they can. They have a good chance that if the fire goes down to the south shore of the North Fork of the Kings River here, if it goes down a hill, they got a good road in the canyon. Assume it's highlighted. That says good. They could probably protect this area to the powerhouse. But it doesn't show that they're creating lines there. Let's hope that they might. Then they've got this out here to the east. And just one terminating road. It says Garnet Dyke A Spur off of, let's see, excuse me, let's zoom. You know what a spur means? When a road is called a spur, you know it was once a railroad. Logging railroad probably, or maybe even to mines sometimes. A spur means a railroad off the main line. So if you've ever seen like roads in the wilderness called main line, this and that, it was a railroad. There used to be thousands of miles of railroads into our forests. In fact, most of today's dirt roads in the forest, anywhere there was like good tree harvest, those were logged by rail because the trees were so huge, and trucks couldn't handle them. And well, trains came before decent trucks anyway, especially the 1800s. So, but most of these tracks were pulled up and destroyed in the scrap drives in World War I and II. They pulled the old tracks out just to get the steel of the track, and they just dumped the wood. So a lot of history was destroyed. It would have been cool if they kept them around. Then you could have eco tours into the forest, deep into the forest where there's no roads, and tourists could look out, from the trains, and we'd have a good industry of and a good funding of the forest. That's have huge chunks of land to take care of, and almost no funding. A lot of the care of our forests is it's paid for by the permits of the hunters, trappers, and fishermen. But as fewer and fewer people are outdoorsy, the revenue is drying up. So they're really underfunded. So let's see here. And trains can be, they can start fires, but they can be very safe. I mean, back in the day, steam trains kind of put stuff out of their smokestacks, like embers. Sometimes they put screens in, and they oftentimes had little water tanks. The last 3 cars were water tanks and sprayed everywhere with water as they went along the landscape. And they cranked it on high everywhere there's the wooden trestle bridges to protect those in wildfire. And now with the Dixie Fire, we saw the firefighting trains just take huge, it's like all water tanks. And they sprayed down the Feather River Canyon. They did really good work saving much of the trees in there for the Dixie Fire. So firefighting trains, there's an argument to be made that might be a huge asset. It'd be like, let's party like it's 1899 in a good way. You know what I mean? And if people are worried about poachers entering the area, like, what are they going to do? You can't drive on a railroad track, right? Like, if people are concerned about bad people coming in on roads, on a train, and you can always, these days, put cameras on the landscape and gates, so we've got options, These perfectly graded former train tracks turned into roads to be easily put back into train tracks or something similar, because all the surveying work and the hard work of grading and making tunnels or whatever is like done already. So anyway, it's a thought. So I don't know how they're going to stop it over here. Just what do they got? One squiggle? Former train? Maybe it's not even a maintained road that doesn't connect to anything. That won't be that helpful if it connected to the stuff up here. It would. No idea what the train is like, so don't know if that's even a possibility. Fire's too close anyway. So I wanted to see on the east portion of the map, like what they would do to stop it from going up the Kings River here. I think they're just calling it Kings River. Yeah, they're just calling it Kings River here. It's not a fork. Kings River proper. We don't have any lines under construction. This may not be that terribly active anymore. We don't have cams for this east side. I don't think that Delilah 1 or 2 reaches it. Let me look back chat. Matt C says, oh, I hope you enjoyed your supper, Cipro. I'm enjoying mine too. Let's see. Oh, Urban says Redding Cal Fire has issued fire weather warnings and high heat warning. Yep. There's red flag right now, still, I believe, in that upper valley. I think until Wednesday. It'll probably expand. Oh, Matt C says I've hiked that area at Garnet Dyke. The spur does go up to an old mine. Ooh, that's what I was wondering. That's the kind of thing I want to explore. If they don't go up there and save it, there could be amazing history there to lose. It was very sad that, you know, the old stamp mills where they crush the rocks. Those are amazing machines. There's some counties in California with rich gold mining histories, and they just lost the very last stamp mills to fire, and their very last, like, intact structures from the gold rush. We have a lot to lose here. I keep seeing places that are on my list to go document before they disappear, and they're disappearing before I can get there. What people need to learn is we're about, if these fires continues the way they are at this frequency, at this ferocity, we may lose almost every scrap of gold rush history in the entire state. We are headed that way right now. We are losing historical buildings at an extreme rate. It's incredibly sad. Places that have been protected by the locals and local fire departments successfully since the 1850s. Poof. A gigantic chunk of them gone in just the last 5 years. So my original work wasn't fire stream and fire assessment. Is more important than ever, and I have less and less time to do it. I'm very torn and I'm very anguished. But thank you for your local knowledge. Matt C says the Garnet Dyke Aspur Road has been inoperable for 2 years. Sierra National Forest has not fixed it, so I doubt CAL FIRE can even use it. Yeah. Now, some of it's funding, but a lot of it is lack of willpower. The Forest Service and CAL FIRE, they have a history of absolutely hating each other's guts. It varies from ranger to ranger and person in charge to person in charge, but there are some people who are in charge in the Forest Service that seem to hate history and resent it and want all the old buildings off the landscape. Some of them they light on fire on purpose. Like old beloved historical cabins, old fire lookouts. That's dilapidated. It has termites. Let's light a match. They have prevented volunteer groups in the Columbia River Gorge, for example, from fixing up a classical old log cabin. That's one of the oldest buildings in the entire region. Oregon doesn't have a lot of structures that survive prior to 1875 in the entire state. Even though it was settled before the rest of the country was west of the Mississippi, Oregon was settled via the Columbia River in the 1811s, 1810, with Astoria being the first fur trade port west of the first American settlement west of the Mississippi, because the Louisiana Purchase was pretty new. So even though it's got some of the oldest history, there's almost no buildings that survived prior to 1875. Everything from wildfires to stupid development to stupid, government things, poor historical protection. But this cabin, actual log cabin, was a shining star, and definitely the oldest thing in the county, I believe. So a volunteer group goes, oh, there's a leak in the roof. Let's go fix it. They got stopped by Forest Service, this cantankerous person in charge. They said, you're not authorized to do this. Why not? Just because. Okay. But the leak in the roof means the whole building's going to melt and decay. It's a log cabin, you know. You can't just have a leak in the roof. Eh, if it decays, it decays. It's none of your business. I'm very, very against that. I don't think it should be up to them whether or not what we own. It's our land. It's public land. It should not be up to them what survives for the next generation. I think they need to write it to charter, constitution, whatever, that the stewards of the public land have to meet all the public interests and preserve our history. That's not what Teddy Roosevelt envisioned. Let's just cordon off chunks of the public land. Nobody can go in there. Nobody can enjoy it. And let's let it fend for itself. The only reason sequoias are alive, and they're thousands of years old, is because the Indians took care of them as sacred trees and sacred groves. It was like their churches. The Indians managed the sequoias and other places that just became perfect old growth. It's not an accident. They created the perfect situation for old growth by constantly introducing low-level, low-key fires during kind of wet, moist springs and such, and keeping the fire loads low. That's not an accident. It's tender care of the land that abruptly stopped when, I don't have to explain history to you. And they were prevented. They were prevented from continuing their practice, even though a lot of the whites that settled with them and intermarried with them, the very early settlers, adopted their ways and had like cattle ranchers and such, and kept up the good work. They were stopped by the feds and local authorities, and that hasn't really occurred since around the 1920s with the let's stop all fires and that's it policy, right? Extremist policy. We're learning, but just don't think that it's an accident that trees older than Jesus exist. If you just let the forest fend for itself, it'll eventually perish. You've got to take care of it. They used to pack mud at the base of the roots where the bark was exposed and fill in the holes, because that's where fire comes, mostly along the ground, the pine needles burning and such, lightning strikes. So they would pack mud and clay at the base of the old trees to protect them, drag away, dead limbs and stuff, have their own burn pile and their own barbecue, they had to have fires for cooking and stuff. But it's not an accident. If you look at some of them, they're in perfect circles and in interesting shapes, where it's obvious that a human hand has been at work here for thousands of years to create it. If you don't believe me, go to a place called the Trees of Mystery, which is a preserved like Redwoods Park in Northwest California. And there are some weirdly shaped trees that were created that shape by humans. Some of them are just weird naturally, but there's growths where people have weddings and stuff growing in perfect horseshoe shapes. Stuff that's not an accident. But we're learning. We have to learn from the past. There's things we can do. But I don't like the fact that we don't have any. They didn't even begin any dozer lines, and I don't even see a good place to even put them. These are steep, rugged canyons right here. The Kings River. And probably none of these mines operated after 1941, I bet. Probably even closed earlier than that. So that would be the conditions of the roads. As there's more here than meets the eye, but I want to look at CalTopo. Let's take the battle map off. I also am just troubled by the fire really could spread to everywhere the pink is. At least they have completed desert lines here along Cicada Ridge. Let me look back at chat. Yeah. So Desi says, "Oh, hope you're doing better, Jack." Yeah, I hope you are too. Are you okay? Oh, oh, you just got out of the hospital. I'm sorry. Yeah. This is the fire of concern. Yesterday we had a great day. I didn't want to say that live. They pounced on a whole lot of fires, all up and down everywhere. Not too much happened in like the Shasta region, but they had small ones south of where the Veterans Park fire was. Let's look at the heat maps. Currently where the fire is. I want to take a little break to save my voice, and I could restart the stream if, of course, anything happens. But please put questions in chat right now of any fire to check on. They slammed it with aircraft today, the Basin. There's a faint possibility it could go together with the flash fire. So here it is. So you can see the reservoir right here. Fresno is down here to the bottom left corner. And it was lit up all night. Very, very active on Sycamore Creek, which Cal Topo told me was the name of that place. Let's pull down. There's Balch Camp. And you can see the heat detection there. Excuse me, the current map shows the fire at Balch Camp, basically on its doorstep. And they worked hard today to protect it. Excuse me. So, but here is Sycamore Springs. Let me turn off this is live heat detection. Remember, this margin of error wherever the squares are. And so this red center is where it's been the most active. We saw it just march, not race, but march steadily up. And it's up elevation, up Sycamore Springs Creek. And here's where it begins at the spring where the water just pours out of the mountain, right? So let me consult the battle map and orient myself. So this one is Rancheria Creek. Oh, you can't see much of my cursor, but this part, this left side, Rancheria Creek, and that's on the battle map labeled. So let me consult it off camera. Rancheria Creek, they have hand line all the way up to the top from the river, the North Fork of the Kings, or actually the Kings. Kings proper down there. So they have hand line up to Cicada Ridge on the Rancheria one. But the actual Sycamore Springs, let me look back at this map. Sycamore Springs here in the creek, the fire is on the east side of the creek. This is the line, the current red line. Right? This thing. Up and down here. The Pioneer Fire, Chelan County, Rex Creek is 4,757 acres, which is that? Washington. Let me see. So we had a big bright glow as it steadily marched upslope here. So this one over here is Rancheria, right? Rancheria. Yeah. So you have a completed hand line from this road, Rancheria Creek, and the road that crosses it. Completed hand line. They walked this, I guess. And there's a waterfall. Wow. All the way down. All the way down to here. And there's some steep terrain. I don't know how they did that, but they somehow did that. Maybe it's just rocks on either side. Let's look at the global imagery. It's just chaparral bushes and stuff. Is it dry? Who knows if this is seasonal? Okay, it says falls. Ah, a lot of the mining and PG&E powerhouse stuff, they redirect creeks and they just go completely dry in order to supply power. So they sometimes they take the springs and they put them into a pipe or something, and then they narrow the pipe as it goes downhill. That increases water pressure, and it spins turbines. That's one way to create power. So I don't know if that's dry or wet. So, but the fire's line, the edge on the battle map is right here, and it marched up from where the water was up this, and it found heavy fuel. It went pretty bright all over the cameras for most of the night. I was woken up by raccoons in the middle of the night. I thought someone was breaking into a car. Raccoons are climbing on it to get to a fast food bag on the roof. So I got all excited and started putting on my clothes, ready to call 911 and film the robbers. So I checked the cams again. So they got a little handline here, the battle map, but that's about it. But this is where the fire is. You can turn on the fire activity. Yellow is there's been a flare up. Excuse me. Remember, red is in the last 10 minutes when the satellite passed by. Orange is in the last hour. Yellow is sometime within the last 6 hours, 1 to 6 hours. There is a flare up, enough to trigger the satellites again. Gray is cooling off in general. So at least that's good that we don't see any new red by Balt's camp. And they've been slamming that with aircraft, slamming it. I think what we are seeing on the cams when Delilah 2 is looking further to the east, I think the fire was climbing right here, climbing above where Balt's camp is, like north of it, and going over this ridge towards the northeast, or trying to. Like the camera angle view. Oh, there's a sunset. I'll show you this. I think it's going past where Balt's camp is, but let's see on the map how much we can zoom. Actually, right, this is Delilah Lookout 2. No, it's too far to the west. We don't have a good vantage point about what's going on at Balt's camp then. Let me see. Unless, wait, no, it is. This is what's going on at Balt's camp. Okay. But it might be down here. As we see bigger hills in the foreground, it might be down here, going up to Rogers Ridge, rather than, say, the Dinky Creek up there. It's hard to say. Oh, and it's rotating. Okay, I was on the wrong one. Delilah 1. Okay, excuse me. So if that's Delilah 1, excuse me, that's just zoom out. Don't do that. Okay, it's a ravine over. So this one is looking at the fire going up and over the hill off of this is Rancheria Creek. So we do not have a good view of what's happening whatsoever at Balt's camp. So they'll give us a update. Hopefully, let's see if they did on watch duty. They have a 15% containment on the Sierra fire at San Bernardino / Riverside County. Going really well. Do we have a Basin fire update for watch duty? Nope. Division Mike is the next. After they protect Balt's camp, then they want to do the slop over. Then the third priority is another slop over that's 15 acre-ish in Division Mike. So let's go back to battle map. Where's Division Mike? Okay. Alpha Delta Mike. So Mike is the northeast side. Oh. This is, of course, a map from the morning. It doesn't reflect what happened today. So tomorrow's map will show us what the heck happened. So I have no idea where that might be. But Mike takes the east and northeast side of things. So that's it. That's a big section. But that's a division break right there. Division Mike. That's way over there. Okay, you see the big things that look like U's? That those are division brakes. So umbrella or uniform, whatever they're calling it, is down where the actual fire perimeter was this morning. So what are they talking about with Mike? A slop over means it moved past the line. So maybe I'm very confused by that. Oh, there. Is it this? The thing that says rock? Maybe that was lightning strike 2 or something. How is there fire right there? Yeah, I didn't even see that. Sir, red highlighted right in my face. Okay, that must be what they're talking about. 15 by 20 acres. Yeah, that makes sense. Gives you a big scale, a sense of scale for the enormity of where this fire is. The cameras are only showing little brief portions. It's huge. Okay, so that's their third priority. So I assume since it's cooling off, this is cooling off on the satellite heat images where Balch Camp is that they did. Good job there. They haven't said they lost any structures or anything. It's a very tiny community in one little ravine. Those are easy to defend, right next to a water source. And they've known about structure protection for days. So I imagine that just went fine until we know more. Hopefully they're now at work with the different 2 slop overs, but that's interesting. Yeah, there's that little thing right there. Oh, there. Let's look at our satellite heat map. Doesn't show up. It's quite a small affair. So the battle right now is, will the lines hold at Rancheria Creek? The hand line, it doesn't go the entire length of it. It's boiling over and pretty fierce right in the quadrangle with Sycamore Springs proper. Matt Cassell says the area in there that's inaccessible is labeled as a wild and scenic area on the map. Yeah, not any longer. It's going to be a burned up wasteland. But we can hope for the best. Looks like a tri-waterfall right here. Falls. If it's not dry right now. So that's all we had to report. Last call for information about any of the fires. We covered Darlene. Applegate's looking great. That was my highest level of concern and my highest level of concern for Oregon. We don't have a lot of info on the Darlene. We checked out the new fires. So see if we've got any sort of update on the Shearling, Calaveras County. Where it started was inaccessible, heavy. But they said at least they have prior burn scars, and that means hopefully they didn't destroy the dozer lines from these. See, this white here is where a previous fire was. The quarry fire of 2023. That was a nasty one. So they should have very fresh dozer lines there. And since that's just last year, it's probably not a lot of fuel as the wind is pushing it towards the prior burn scar. So yeah, we have not had updated it for 8 hours. An update on it for 8 hours. So we'll wait for him to explain that one. Let's see. That's on our radar for concern. Anything else we've covered? All right. Any questions, friends? Any questions at all? All right. Well, thank you for being here, guys. I'm going to take a break and try for you should do something for an hour that you like every day. I will try to walk a little bit too and actually be outside. We'll spare my voice. We'll go live again, of course, if there's some sort of an emergency. But if not, then I think I will see you guys tomorrow in the afternoon. Unless I find out earlier about some crisis or something. But I need to get caught up on some of my other things. His own fire over here had an update 4 hours ago. 40% containment. Cool. kind of middle of nowhere. But we have to rest as much as we can and prepare for, we might be live 24 hours a day, 4th of July weekend, because just hold on your butt. So that's all just prep. Remember, finalize your home prep right now, guys. Make your defensible space. Check all of your soffit vents underneath your attic and in your gable vents and tell your friends. Make sure, take a toothpick, okay? Anywhere a toothpick can go through the screens, fire embers can go into your attic. You have to have a fine mesh metal screen that's nice and fresh. Hopefully, if you have access from the inside of your attic, you staple gun it really tight from the inside. If not, hopefully you can have ladder access from the exterior and do a temporary staple gun measure for your soffit vents and gable vents underneath the roof. Of course, if you own your own home, right? It's embers flying inside the attic, starting the roof on fire from the inside out. That is the #1 way we lose homes. We didn't know that. We've been ignorant about that, but it's been true forever. We just found out about that with wind tunnel tests inside of big warehouses where they built a mock model of a home, put a whole bunch of fans on, and then they put embers in front of the industrial fans. And then they looked at where do the embers go. They would smack into the side of the house at high wind speeds, and then they go up. They go up, and they all get shoved, and get trapped there underneath the roof, the corner between the roof and the wall of your house. So even if they look intact, gently poke with the eraser side of a pencil to see if the screen gives. Sometimes animals, squirrels, birds try to get up in there. If there's a bird nest, you evict them, right? I don't know what to do if it's still inhabited, but it's July. They should be hatched by now and out. Do not have a bird nest up there. It'll burn your house down. So just fix the access. You can't have animals up in your attic. And the second place is laundry. Where does your laundry vent go for your dryer? Clean out as much of the lint as you can around the exterior. And if you have good access, remember, when you leave for evacuation, cover that up. Block it. Remember, no holes even the size of a toothpick. That's the #1 way that fire enters a house that I have identified on my own, and we need to spread the word to the public. Lint is microplastics, basically, from our synthetic clothing, and a mix of natural fibers like cotton, which is also very, very fire prone. Thank you so much, Matt C., for your kind donation, your $10 donation. You may have been the only donor today, so it may have just worked for $10 for 3 hours, but it's below minimum wage, but we do what we can. I'm kidding. No, we like every little. There's no donation too small. We appreciate of it all. So, and of course, many people have given generously, and I can't wait to add that all up. So now we can add to the super chat total $428-ish. Now I got to go through PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, and check my mail to see if anybody has sent a check. So, and Happy Quail says also pick up broken glass and bottles because yes, exactly. That's true. There's one more thing you may not have thought of that I have to tell you. You know, glass bottles act as magnifying glasses and they can start a fire. So litter is awful, glass litter especially. Water bottles cannot do that, okay? Like plastic ones. They don't. Plastic is not good at refracting light. They're the worst filters you can have for your camera. You know, that was a hoax back in the day. But glass can. It's like a magnifying glass for heat. It focuses heat. So yeah, pick up glass pieces and glass, carefully as you can. And there's one more thing. Many of these roadside fires could be rocks stuck in tires. JB, the retired fire captain, told me about this. He said, a lot of people, especially come from a gravel road or something, you might want to get out and check your tires like you're checking the hoof of a horse. And just take a screwdriver or whatever you got around, your car keys, and flip the rocks out of the tread of your tires, okay? Tell people about this. Because if you drive at high speeds with a rock in your tire, what you're doing is you're heating up that rock. It's the friction of the rock on the pavement. Friction, like rubbing things together, like rub two sticks together, you get a fire. Rub a rock on asphalt or concrete, yeah. So eventually these rocks get flung out of the tires. You'll hear that thunk sound on the underside of your wheels, you know? And if you hear stuff like that, look in your rear view and make sure that a hot rock just didn't fly into grass and start a fire. I never really knew about that. Yeah, absolutely. And if you see anybody with a loose chain, it's your responsibility to get their license plate, tell them about it. They don't do anything, you call 911. If you're at the boat ramp and you see this stuff, they won't fix it, you call 911. I'm serious. You report chain dragging vehicle, that's serious. Be helpful, of course. You know, help them to secure it, be friendly. But if they're cantankerous or don't care, that's fine. Do your duty. You can save a neighborhood, you can save a forest. These people need an education from authorities sometimes, you know. So, yeah, that's a huge cause, Sean. You're totally right. And also other things. Secure everything. Don't tow your boat where anything could possibly bounce out. A crescent wrench falling out of a toolbox in the back of somebody's pickup once started a fire that JV said. It chipped on the asphalt, threw sparks into grass. So even if you have loose chains and stuff in the back of your pickup, you know, secure them. Like tie them like a tie down, coil them. Rope. I've seen, you know, rope for tying up your boat at a dock. It might have a metal end, you know, where you tie it. Even a stringer, you know, for a fish. Nylon rope at the little metal part at the end. If that got loose on your boat and just bounced along the road, that could start a fire. So, but make sure everything is secured properly and can't fly out of the back of your. You check your vehicle. Did I leave something loose? You know. So thank you guys for being here, and we will see you tomorrow. I'll go live, of course, if anything like emergency happens tonight. But let's get our rest. I gotta save my voice. I really appreciate the support. I'm sorry if anybody did Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App. My phone's been silent for a bit, and sometimes I don't get all the notifications. So we'll try to do the tally tomorrow. We're on track to getting this laptop. I'm so grateful, guys. Remember to hit the like button on the way out. We start new streams every time. So you may want to bookmark the channel page. Just hit the K, purple K icon. It'll take you to the channel. Bookmark that and check it. See if we're live. Ring bell, subscribe with the ring bell should tell you on your phone when we're live if you have YouTube on the phone. But make sure notifications are enabled. So thank you everybody for being here. Good night. Remember, I love you all. Good luck.